sabrinasalvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. Doobie-doobie-doo.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, happy Thursday and welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you're new, I do want to let you guys know that Sabby Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Sabby and JB show, and you can catch me here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, Twitter, and Rumble. We do have a special guest tonight. I'm going to bring her in just a second. Tonight's theme is Everything is Coming Out. I do want to show you that thumbnail so you can see what we are discussing tonight. It is a crazy day in the world of news. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest is Amanda Seales. She is joining us off of the heels of that Jubilee debate. We have a lot to discuss. We are also getting into, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this, but there is a dark money report that has been outed, and it is naming multiple Democrat influencers, and one of them is David Pakman. He has issued a response. The others have not. We're going to get into that story. We're also going to discuss, of course, the Catholic school shooting. We're going to talk about that shooter and what that means about violence here in the United States. Why is it us? Why do we seem to have all these mass shootings? We're also going to discuss Alex Jones. Alex Jones does not have a good message here about Donald Trump's health. So we're going to talk about that. And he is giving a stern warning. Everyone beware. And last but not least, Ritchie Torres. Ritchie Torres is being exposed in multiple ways, but he does have a challenger, and we will get into all of that. All right, ladies and gents, first and foremost, I don't want to keep our special guest waiting. So her name is Miss Amanda Seales. She's an actress, a comedian, an activist, and very, very vocal out in these streets. You saw her recently in the Jubilee debate where she debated 20 Black conservatives. Let's go ahead and bring her in. Welcome, Amanda.
Welcome, Sabby Sabs. Can I tell you something off top though? I hate being called an actress. Do you know a lot of actors?
I do not.
They're a different kind of crazy. Like it's a different type of crazy. Like comedians, we're crazy too, but it's a different kind of crazy. Actors, I'd be like, ooh, child, don't call. I'm able to act, but I've left that life. I've left that life, Sabrina. Or why do I keep wanting to call you your full Sabrina? Can I call you Sabrina? I feel like it's such a eloquent name.
You can't. Most people call me Sabrina. It's okay. Interesting. Outside of YouTube, most people call me Sabrina.
Yeah, I feel like it's like one of those names. It's like, no, give us all the syllables. Sabrina.
Well, Amanda, oh my gosh, we have so much to discuss. I have been looking for you. I've been
Tell them what you found, though. Tell them what you found.
I got to tell everybody, you guys know I'm not the best on Instagram. And I know you guys have gotten on me about this before. And you said, you need to check IG. And I'm just terrible with it. And so what I found out is that Amanda reached out to me on Instagram, and I didn't see it because I'm rarely on there, and I wasn't even checking like Instagram messages. And I saw that, and I was like, "Whoa! I did not know." But
I had been extended.
It's true. It is true. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Yeah, I was, everybody had kept telling me, they said, can you please bring on Amanda Seales? And I was like, I don't know how to find it.
Same.
And so, yeah, I'm trying to get
better. So you got to come over to Views from Amanda Land, to my show too. Sorry, my locks are doing what they want to do tonight. And
I'd love to. I got to get started with the 2024 presidential election. So those of us that decided not to support, I did not support Kamala Harris. I voted third party.
They're still mad at you about this.
They are still mad at me. And I know they're still mad at you too, because you were very vocal about that Kamala Harris was not bringing forward the policies that are needed in this country right now. And then also her aligning herself with Liz Cheney. Now people are saying, don't you guys feel bad for not voting for Kamala Harris? And I want to get your take about that. How do you feel about that? The type of anger that was thrown your way for not wanting to advocate for, and as they said at that time, a Black woman.
Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. I mean, that's really, at this point, there's a certain level of I don't want to even say grace, because that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's just like, I understand that they are not knowledgeable in a way that has been really effective for the Democratic Party. Like, there has been a very deep-seated effort for the past 40 years, a disinformation campaign that has really kept Black folks in a chokehold. I was one of those Black folks that was in that chokehold, thinking that this is the only option. And so all of our eggs need to be put into this basket. And I remember in 2020 with Joe Biden, I was also very I was also very critical about Joe Biden, and they all got on me, and people started attacking me publicly and privately about how dare you. I remember this guy, Isaac Hayes III, was like, you know, this is the most dangerous Black woman in America. Y'all also be giving me way too much like status. And to be quite honest, they got to me, like the Blacks got to me and made me feel like I was anti-us if I wasn't pro-Biden. And I folded. And over the next 4 years, I then watched how there was nothing being done to prevent us being in this same situation again. And I found that to be very disconcerting. Why are we now in 2024 and we're in the same back against the walls? It's a crisis. The boogeyman is going to get us situation that should have been dealt with, and it should have been addressed on day 2 after Biden was elected. And I said, I'm not going to be a part of this again. I'm not. What I mean by a part of this is, and I remember I called Charlemagne and I had texted Roland Martin about this. And I said, I believe that this go round, there needs to be a really concerted effort with connecting with voters in an honest way, instead of doing this manipulative thing that ends up happening where it's like, oh, they're not smart enough to understand the nuances and the challenging that needs to be done. So we're just going to paint this pretty picture of just vote for so-and-so and don't worry about anything else. I said, we're dealing with folks who are a lot more mindful now. They are a lot more aware of not just their feelings, but of the world. Like, we're not dealing with such a ignorant populace, and it really doesn't serve us to move this way. And, you know, they chose to go the way they chose, but I stuck to my guns, which was, first of all, I don't endorse candidates. So even with Joe Biden, it was like, I'm not saying, but this is the option. But then I got really, you know, and I also met Kamala. And I think that's the other part of it. Like, a lot of folks are speaking from what they've interpreted of a person, and I'm speaking from what I've experienced. And when I spoke to Kamala, she did not express to me any interest in actually trying to deal with things head on that are affecting the Black community, specifically racism, institutionally, systemically, legislatively. And that really shook me. And then,
So she said she was not, she said that to you, she wasn't interested.
She said to me, I said, we don't trust you. And she said, well, why? And I said, well, okay, let's start with the way that you speak about racism. You know, you are constantly speaking about racism as if it's something from the past or as if it's only associated with slavery. You were just on The View saying we're dealing with the vestiges of racism, which means the remnants of racism, when really, no, racism is very present and it's gaining steam in its ability to be, you know, ruling folks' lives. And she said, well, what do you expect me to do? I can't call America racist without calling Americans racist. And when I voiced this on my Instagram, people really were upset at me because they said that I was, you know, trying to tank the campaign. They said that I was really just being an angry, crazy person, which, I mean, not what else is new? Being called an angry, crazy person. But what I was genuinely, perhaps I wasn't being as eloquent as I could have been, but what I was genuinely trying to do was to really get folks to understand their own power, and that, you know, we're going to need to make demands. And this is actually a really great time to make demands, because what we don't understand as a populace is that we are putting them in power and not the reverse. And until we really, really, really understand that, we are continuing to play in a game where we're not even, we're like betting on a game that we don't even know how to play.
What was Kamala like in person? Because I had my criticisms of Kamala Harris when she ran for president in 2020. When I looked at her record in California, her criminal justice record is appalling, in my opinion. And for whatever reason, she was advised to run this campaign where let's just open our arms and embrace Liz Cheney. Let's brag about getting money or support from Goldman Sachs. It was the craziest thing that I had ever seen. And I'm like, who came up with this idea? But also the situation with Gaza, her not willing to separate herself from Joe Biden. As she said on The View, she wouldn't do anything differently. Like those types of things. And now she has this book tour where she's going around the country talking about her book, 107 Days. And I guess this is supposed to be her redemption period. I don't know. But what was she like in person? Was she laughing, Amanda? Was she like, was she?
Now Sabrina. She was very well. This interaction happened at Bloody Sunday's commemoration in Selma in February of 2024. And she heard I was there and had, you know, summoned for me to come to where she was in like a holding room. And when I got there, there was, you know, a lot of people in there, and she was like, so hello. And so there was an energy from the beginning that was very much like, oh, this is not you want to meet me. This is you want to confront me. Because, you know, I was giving her the business on this internet, right? As I feel is my job to do. I am a voter. And then I said, well, to be quiet, she was like, what do you want me to do? And I said, well, I want you to be different. And she said, well, how am I supposed to be different? And I said, well, to be honest, I can't even talk to you the way I want to talk to you with all these people in here. And so then she was like, clear the room. And so she cleared the room. And it was just me, her, and a Secret Service agent. And she was very uptight. I could tell that she was very frustrated by my pushback. At the end of the interaction, she was like, well, you know, well, we're going to talk because I want to hear what you have to say. We're going to talk. But then, you know, and I shared my information with her team, and they were like, you know, she really wanted to meet you. And I was like, all right, well, you know, she was very testy, but you know, let's talk. And then, but then 2 weeks later, I don't know if you remember this. She went to Puerto Rico. Do you hear I just said that? That was so USian. She went to Puerto Rico. She went to Puerto Rico, and she had got off the plane, and they were singing and clapping, and she started clapping along with them. And then the translator had to tell her, they're singing that you're a colonizer. That's what they're saying. And she was like, ah! And this would normally be a video that I would make commentary about. And I paused for a moment and was like, but if I do this video, maybe then they won't want to talk to me. And then I had to remember that that's not what I'm here for. I am not here to placate to politicians. My value is in my savviness. My value is in my willingness to face things head on. And so I made the video. And then a week later, a smear campaign began. But what I want to add, though, is that I think, honestly, Sabrina, it's less about what Kamala is really like. And it's more about, to me at this point, how distorted the version of her has become by the masses. Like, I just feel like there's like a whole deifying that's been happening that is bizarre to me, because I've never seen it happen so fast, because I know folks was really not feeling her. And then all of a sudden she was shot to savior status, and folks bought into that. And anyone who questioned it was considered an op, or I don't know if you were told that you were a MAGA or all the time, right? Like, if you aren't voting for her, you're voting for Trump. I never see you talk about Trump. I had a radio show on Radio 1. I was talking about Trump all day long. I just think it's really important that we talk about all of them, because none of them are here for us until we force them to be.
Yeah. I was called a lot of names. Roland Martin came after me.
My mother said that to me today. My mother was like, Roland Martin had come after Sabby,
Yeah, he came after me, and I told him, I said, you're welcome to come on my show and have this discussion.
I said the same thing. Did he come?
No. But I told people early on, I don't care what the polls are saying. I've talked to people. I'm in Massachusetts. I'm in a blue state. I talked to people on the ground. Most people told me they are not coming out to vote. So I was sounding that alarm on this show for the whole presidential election, and everybody told me, "What do you know? You haven't been doing this long enough. You don't know anything. You're just a YouTuber." Roland Martin told me, he said, "You're a YouTuber." I'm like, "You're on YouTube too."
My name.
Like, what? It was wild.
That type of elitism has no place, because you know who's on YouTube? Voters. So be where the people are. Like for me, I was doing stand-up at the time. So I'm in these clubs across the nation, and I'm doing stand-up, but I was also screening my documentary in Amanda We Trust, which is literally about the lack of civic engagement and civic knowledge that's here in America, in the United States. And if your version is people weren't voting because they just didn't feel like it, mine was everyone saying, I will not vote for anyone who is supporting the genocide in Gaza. It's like there was no movement on that. And folks are like, that's a single issue. So be it. Genocide is a big enough issue to be a single issue, because it is an umbrella issue that has several other issues under it. And they didn't feel that that was something worth bringing up. And I think that was, I know that was a deeply problematic move, because even if the election was rigged, which I do believe it was, in my opinion, there's no room for politicians at this point. You're either a public servant or I have no energy for you. You are a representative of your constituency. When I see Angie for Florida putting on a mosquito net and a windbreaker to go down to Alligator Alcatraz, and beat on the door to get in, that's the type of energy I'm trying to see. All this performative nonsense. I've been in show business since I was 8 years old. I can recognize some show business Sabs. And a lot of these politicians are just folks that couldn't read a script, so they chose to read script. A lot of these politicians are just people that couldn't read scripts, and so they chose to read speeches.
I will say the Gaza issue was a really big one. And a lot of people, like I said, are coming to me today and they're saying, see, you guys should have supported Kamala. Kamala Harris made it very clear that she would not withhold any weapons to Israel. She was very clear about that. She was asked about that multiple times and gave the same answer every time. Then there was the Democratic National Convention, where there was a Palestinian American that had a speech that apparently was approved. She would not allow them to come up on the stage and speak, but she allowed the Israeli family to come on the stage and speak. I mean, there were multiple opportunities. Then there's the I am speaking moment when she was at the rally in Michigan, of all places, which has the largest Arab American population, a swing state. And it just, to me, it's like, I feel like people are putting on blinders, right? They're like, well, this wouldn't be happening in Gaza. The war they wouldn't be killing kids. They wouldn't be starving kids if Kamala was president. And I honestly think that they would, because she said she wouldn't withhold the weapons. So as long as she's still giving them the weapons, they're going to continue killing people in Gaza.
I guess for me, what's confusing is that there's no history of Kamala Harris being a rabble rouser. There's no history of Kamala Harris going against the grain. There's no history of Kamala Harris being a rebel or being in resistance. So to suggest that she would, had she been in office, is a false concept. It's literally based on hopes, but not on anything actual. And I think the other thing we have to acknowledge is that she has been in the establishment for a really long time in service of establishment. Like I saw someone say the other day, she used to lock bad guys up as a DA. Well, anybody who actually knows the justice system knows that the DA is not our friend. Okay. Like, and when I say our, I mean black and brown people. I mean the working class. The DA is representing the country. Okay. It says the state versus or the United States versus. And if you know the truth about this nation, not about your ancestors, right? Not about your black ancestors who fought and died. That's not what I'm talking about. When you know the truth about the United States and you understand the shift that the United States made after World War II into saying we're going to take over as the biggest colonizers, I feel like that has to somehow jog your thinking about who signs up for that. And I think for a lot of us who have been really on the Democrat boat, we think, because I know this because I'm sure you get this too. People say, well, then why don't you run for office? If you have all the ideas, why do you run for office? We think that being in electoral politics, we think that is a change maker move. We think that's where change makers go, even though look at all of these black people behind me. We got James Baldwin, we got Gil Scott-Heron, Angela Davis is up there. You got Malcolm X. None of them were in elected office.
No.
And all of their messaging continues to resonate and reverberate and drive many of us to this day. So to say that to me is reductive.
Right. And that brings me to the Democratic Party in general. And I always, with Dr. Cornel West, I refer to them as black faces in high places. There was this episode recently on The Breakfast Club where Charlemagne was talking about Hakeem Jeffries. He's another one that's a big AIPAC puppet. I thought this was pretty interesting.
I love having the minority speaker, Hakeem Jeffries. Because, you know, I'm a political nerd. Like, I love talking
Charlemagne
politics.
hates him.
You do?
I don't hate him. I just don't think he stands for anything.
Well,
I think that I call him AIPAC Shakur. Like,
well, definitely, we did talk about messaging. And I actually went to the Capitol and had a meeting with him. And we talked about messaging and how I was like, the frustration with the party is y'all have to get more gangster. Like, stop going by the politics of the late 2000s, you know, in 2010. And you have to like rise to the occasion in the messaging. And he did. I saw him do more afterwards.
Hakeem is a puppet. Hakeem's not doing anything if Chuck Schumer don't tell him to do it.
That part right there. So when you look at people like Hakeem Jeffries, it's not just Kamala, but when you look at people like Hakeem Jeffries, who takes a lot of money from AIPAC, Cory Booker is also in that category. Someone shared this on X, AIPAC Shakur and Notorious IDF. So
yeah, like I was going to say, he didn't create that. That's been out there.
Yeah. So it's like, this is another thing. So I've been telling people, I think that we need to move away from the two-party system and organize on the outside and building community and building dual power. One of the things we do at RBN, we do a lot of mutual aid, but whatever works for you and your community. But the problem that I continue to run into is that a lot of, in particular, Black voters say that, are you stupid? This is how we ended up with Donald Trump. You have to support the Democratic Party. And I point to people like Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, who are basically Black faces in high places. Their number one priority, from what I've seen, is to serve and protect Israel, not really to do anything for the Black community. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that organizing on the outside? And how do you get people away from that? What do you say to people that think that Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker are like just the best thing ever?
It keeps me up at night, Sabrina. Like trying to figure out what to say to people. My homeboy, Brandon, who's a fan of yours, shout out to Brandon Victor Dixon. He's who put me on to you. He once said, he was like, you know, all it takes is one sentence to unlock someone's mind. And I'm like, is it? because I've been trying to find that sentence for a long time. Okay, so you said a lot. So let me see. Well, one, let me just, before we even address them, let me just say this. If you're saying anything about AIPAC, but you're not saying Free Palestine, you're not really about it. So you don't get to just play the political dance of AIPAC without acknowledging that this is really grounded in a colonizing effort that is currently in a genocide, and has been. So I think that was actually like a very passive addressing of something that actually needs to be addressed head on. As for Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, I think anyone who loves them is just a victim of not knowing what they're really about. And they also don't know what Israel is really about. And that has been by design. You know, we've really found ourselves in a very unique time, right? Because the shroud of secrecy and protection that has come along with this whole don't say anything or you're an anti-Semite has really held people back from knowing the true incursion of Israel as a part of this government. Really, Israel is a U.S. outpost that serves as a money laundering operation that brings dollars back into the pockets of weapons, U.S. weapons manufacturers, and campaigns. That's what Israel is. So any politicians that are engaging in the support of Israel are engaging in the theft of taxpayer dollars. Whether they're Black, whether they're women, whether they're gay, if they are uplifting Israel, what they are doing, and this is not nuanced, if they are uplifting Israel and if Israel is uplifting them, so that's Jeffrey Bell, that's what's his name, Torres, all of them, they are absolutely involved in corruption and in the use of your hard-earned tax dollars to be funneled through and given back to billionaires and themselves. This is not some like thing that I'm conspiracy theorizing. It is what it is. However, we don't do that math. We don't follow those trails of money, right? Like we don't, that's what Drop Site News and them, that's what they live for, right? Like that's what Gray Zone News, they live to do that. And our people in the United States are so busy trying to just live, that it's really easier to just like hang your hat on, nah, but they're cool though. They look good in a suit. And at the end of the day, it's two light-skinned niggas that are corny. They have no, they can't dance. And they're the kind of light-skinned niggas that think they're fine because they light-skinned. I know that that's their vibe. That I know it. And it's not the case. And they again have no record, but there was a reverence in Claudia's voice when she said, I went up there and I spoke to him. And I want us to really challenge ourselves to stop pedestaling these people.
Yes.
I really want us to stop pedestaling ourselves, I really want us to challenge ourselves to stop pedestaling these people because they are not in these positions based on anything of merit. They're not based on in these positions based on any standard of ethics, of principles, right? Like they got elected, but that's not just because, oh, but they were giving free lunches at the school. You know, like the cause of being elected has now become some sort of like gold star that supposedly means that you deserved it. When we have seen that that's not how things go. People get elected because someone wants them elected. Namely, these PACs that are not just AIPAC. There's several Jewish PACs.
Yep.
Zionist PACs. Let me be specific. There's several Zionist PACs.
Yeah. Kufi, J Street. There's a number of them. There's a number of them.
And some of y'all's favorites. Some of y'all's favorites, I ain't even gonna say the names, but some of y'all's favorites have said, well, I'll take this money, but I'm not gonna do XYZ. And so that is them saying that I'm still in power. And to be quite honest, at this point, if you're not loud about Palestine, I don't know. You look concerned.
Who's the favorite?
I'll text you that.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's true because we've also seen people, Susan Sarandon, she's pro-Palestine. She's been on the ground, a lot of protests, even outside of like Gaza. She was at a protest for Medicare for all. Like she's also an activist. We saw people, particularly after October 7th, that said that they stood with the people in Gaza. They were dropped from their agencies. Like Susan Sarandon was one of those people that was dropped. Some people said they were blackballed or
dropped.
black because you were pro-Palestine.
Yeah. I lost my publicist. I lost my agent. My other agent, we ended up going our separate ways because he said that I asked him, "Are you anti-Zionist?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, I mean, this is not going to get better. So now I have someone negotiating for me who I can't really trust that you're going to negotiate from, my best interest if your feet are held to the fire. Yeah, I mean, I bought my book. My memoir was supposed to come out later this year. And when I saw my editor's notes, a number of her notes was already corny and sketchy, but then there was a couple of notes that really showed me that there was a presence of Zionism that I had not known before. And she also like set me up to fail. That's a longer story, but I ended up buying the book back, and that was not cheap. So.
Very interesting. I know another people, they point out Macklemore. They said, well, Macklemore made these songs. Macklemore is independent, so that is important for people to know.
He's also a white boy and he's Jewish.
There you go. I mean, when you're independent, you can do those things. Now, Amanda.
They canceled Mike's shows last year, like Mike's stand-up shows. Sabby, I was in Detroit and they had a truck outside of my show with my face on the side of it that said Amanda Seales is a Jew hater.
Wow.
Like they hacked my ticket site. And so I had to end up canceling my tour because there was no way for me to sell the tickets, because every time people would try and buy tickets, the site would get messed up and people's tickets would all times. It was just like, what are we going to do? So I ended up just saying, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to leave this entire life behind, because if their only way to really get to me is to do so by trying to play with my money and play with like because that's like the whole unlikable thing that went on last year. Like all of that is coordinated. So if their goal to try and get to me, like I saw someone in your chat earlier today be like, oh, she's trying to get us to like her again. And I just want folks to understand that when you go through certain things in life, you start to realize that all you need is to like yourself. Like you need to like yourself, and the people who are supposed to be around you are the ones who like that you like yourself. And that has been one of the greatest lessons ever, because when these people start coming for you, they're coming for you parapsychologically, they're coming for you economically. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do free shows. I'm going to move. I'm going to simplify my lifestyle so I don't have this level of overhead that I have to still try to reach, because so many people will continue to equivocate and capitulate because they're trying to meet this dollar amount. And I just said no. So that's why you see me selling pins and artwork. That's why you see me doing things very independently. Like I have a one-woman show I've been developing. I have a free show this upcoming Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 6th, at the People's Forum. And many of us have had to do that to simply just stand for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen a number of people have been targeted. Now, you just recently had this debate on Jubilee, and I gotta ask, because so many people have talked about this debate. This young gentleman right here, Amanda, the young gentleman who I later found out is from Maine, apparently
Angola,
and yes. So I'm just gonna play this part for those who have not seen.
comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of Black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe
I'm telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories using Black-only dormitories because Black people feel safer amongst each other, but they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other Black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when Black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my
Tell
God.
me.
The big giveaway here, Amanda, I noticed when he was talking about Black people, he kept saying they.
You guys and they.
You guys and they. And I was like, okay, where is this? So you say he's from Angola, and I guess he lives in Maine?
Yeah. I don't know if you got to watch the whole thing, but I eventually was like, where are you from? And he was like, well, I'm from Angola. I said, where are your parents from? Angola. And I'm like, well, when did you move to the States? When I was 12. And where did you move? To Maine. And I was like, get up. I said, go sit down. You're not even American. And to be honest, it's not that this conversation can't be had with someone who's not American in terms of talking about what are things that can be done to uplift the Black community in America. We know that immigrants have been a huge part of the fight for Black liberation in the United States. So that is not the issue. The issue is when you take the stance of judgment. The issue is when you take the stance of insolence and indignance, and you are parroting completely white nationalist talking points that are meant to denigrate Black Americans. I mean, to suggest that, oh, well, it's more likely for Black people to harm other Black people while not referencing, you can sit here and reference King Von. So are we not going to talk about that Ahmaud Arbery was just running? He was just on a jog. And not only did this truck of white men kill him, but then the DA got them off. Like a whole system was allowed to try to excuse this man being killed. I mean, George Zimmerman gets to walk around free every day, so this is simply just willful ignorance. And I let him off easy just because he's a young person. And those are the most, of course, vulnerable minds.
So one thing I want to add is, so I'm in Massachusetts, in the Boston area here. I go to Maine at least once a summer, and Maine is probably the most, I've double checked, but one of the whitest states in the United States. On top of that, I had a student who was from Maine who told me they were not taught about Black history in public school, because apparently in the state of Maine, it is not required. And I bring this up because this young man went on to say later on that he doesn't believe that redlining was real. My parents grew up in a red line neighborhood in Baltimore, Maryland. And this just really floored me. I had to say to myself, who is teaching this guy? Where is he getting this information from? And then the main thing, and I was like, oh, okay. that makes a lot of sense. But to your point about immigration, after this debate, some people saw this and they said they felt like you changed your position on reparations. And so I just want to hear from you, where do you feel you stand today when it comes to reparations in the United States?
Let me just put on record that y'all are annoying. So I just want to put that on record. So this comes from this whole Amanda doesn't think we should have reparations. What this actually comes from is that during the election season of 2020, the run up to the election, there started to be a demand that in order to vote for Joe Biden, he needs to say that he's willing to give us reparations. And I was at that time being swept up in the melee of folks saying, we can't ask for things. It's too late in the game. We just need to get him in office. So I became one of those mouthpieces that was saying, you know, we can't make demands for that right now. Like, we really just need to get him in office. We just need to get him in office. Just need to get him in office. Like, you can't worry about reparations right now. I have never said that Black people don't deserve reparations. I have never said that reparations are not justified. I think it's also interesting that people have very strong stances about what they think my stance is who do not follow me. So they are either getting my stance via somebody else or through clips that they may have taken in years ago. And my stance was made very clear in the video. My stance was made very clear in the reparations project I did with the reparations project. And I continue to stand on what I've always stood on, which is that reparations are owed over a multitude of reasons, not just slavery. Like, reparations are owed locally, on a city level, on a state level, on a county level. Reparations are owed on a national level. I am also from the Caribbean. Reparations are owed to the Caribbean from Britain and the other countries that are still colonizing. So this is a moot point that people are trying to, people just want to have a reason to, for some reason, undermine my relevance. And I don't know what that is. And I think that's a conversation that some of y'all should have honestly with yourselves. Like, what is it that makes me constantly look for a way to make Amanda Seals's point of view not valid? Why am I always looking for that? And ask yourselves, do you do that with other people?
Well, here's one of the questions from Devotion Orange. Can you ask Amanda how she came to be a part of the reparations discussion without mentioning the ADOS movement?
The ADOS movement has been harassing me and attacking me for the past how many years? Telling me that I'm a coconut, that I need to go back to Grenada, telling me that I am not Black American, even though I am the descendant of chattel slavery in the United States, and that I literally, my great-great-great-grandmother's the birth certificate for her daughter is also signed by her slave owner. So it's like deeply insulting. And I just don't think that the conversation about reparations should be solely attached to being a descendant of slavery, because we know that Black people in the United States have suffered at the hands of racism and legislation and institutionalization of racism in more ways than one. So yes, there is reparations owed to American descendants of slavery. There are also reparations owed to individuals who were not able to get property and land and redlined out of those spaces. There is reparations owed to people. I believe there's reparations owed to the people who are still locked up right now on marijuana charges in places where marijuana is no longer a criminal offense. And you have Ashley H and Ashley C with a marijuana dispensary, while, you know, Tyree and Lateef are still doing time because of a 3 strikes law that Joe Biden helped to push. So, you know, when it comes to ADOS, I think that there are certain members of the ADOS community who really are simply just saying, I am a descendant of American slavery. But when I see a lot of the mouthpieces of ADOS who really are at the forefront of the movement, it feels more exclusionary than inclusionary. And I don't think that is useful as a Pan-Africanist.
Well, I've interviewed some on the show. And there's places where I agree and there's places where I disagree. But one thing I will say, you know, when I talk about reparations, I do make that distinction because of the legality and the debt that's owed. So that is one of the things that I do discuss on the show, is that reparations in the United States is owed to those who are the descendants. And that's based on the debt that is owed, that 40 acres and a mule. I just don't want people to confuse it with like racial injustice. But I also tell people I do believe that reparations are owed to Haiti from France. Like you said, you mentioned Britain. I believe that as well. But I think that when we look at the legality of it, we can't say.
I haven't argued that. I mean, I literally just said that.
Yeah, I think that may be the impression that some people had.
That's not an impression. That is an expression. That's not, I'm not saying anything counter to that. They just see a Grenadian flag behind me and I have a Grenadian mother. And so that, for some reason, to them means that I should not be speaking about reparations as if I do not have the blood of United States slaves in my body. Malcolm X's mother was also from Grenada. So I again, I haven't said anything to the otherwise. If you are a descendant of slavery, you should be given reparations for slavery. There should also be reparations discussed as it relates to the property and the complete stonewalling of Black people from obtaining generational wealth. We were supposed to be given 40 acres and a mule, and then 2 days later, they took it back after they murdered Lincoln.
Yeah. I talked to Dr. Darity about that on the show before too. And he broke down like a lot of numbers, and it's one of those things. But why do you feel it's taboo? I feel like when you bring it up, or when anyone brings it up, it's very taboo, even on the left.
Reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that we don't realize that we've really been pacified. We've been pacified into like, here, nigga, damn. In my show, What Would the Ancestors Say? I have a whole section about here, nigga, damn, because that's basically how anything that has been given to Black people in this country has been given to us. Here, nigga, damn. Civil rights, fine. You guys are always asking for shit. Damn. Like even an Eric Foner, white man Eric Foner's Reconstruction book, classic book on the Reconstruction. He talks about how the United States was like over it. 20 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, they was like, oh, this is just too hard. We just gonna go backwards. So I think that we really don't realize how we've been pacified by capitalism. We don't realize how after the Civil Rights Movement, you did have a whole groundswell of political awareness and of Black Power movement, and the not just the Black Power movement of the Black Panthers, but you also had like cultural power movements within the Chicano movements, within, the Asian communities, et cetera. There was coalition building. And there was also a very concerted effort to replace resistance with excellence. And this idea of like, if you can assimilate into what you now were not able to get to, then that will be your safety. And that's what I believe Sinners was really all about, saying that like assimilation will not save us.
And then I look at the other side too, because I want him to finish here, because I want people to hear this, like what he said.
This is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion.
They definitely
so let's check that now.
They definitely
okay.
Cut out of that, by the way.
They edited this?
Yeah, they edited that. Because it looks as if he didn't say anything to be a catalyst for me to respond that way when he did. So
okay.
Yeah, because he was getting real comfortable and real talking to me like we on the playground. And that's why I had to be like, whoa, let's bring it down.
Interesting.
On a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that Black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism. And we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate Black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist, and stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact. And there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in third grade grade. So if you are literally building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline, or we can use their free labor. Then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons.
how are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your
educating them.
goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So I had to pause there because the Ben Carson part really got to me. First of all, I don't
was big on Ben Carson. What?
It's funny. They want to mention Ben Carson. Ben Carson tried to stab his brother. Do people know this?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Ben Carson tried to stab his brother. Ben Carson, as much as conservatives say, no handouts in reference to welfare. Ben Carson's mom was on welfare at one point. See, these are the things that they leave out of the conversation. But what was really interesting to me, when you went into this debate, did you know who the people were going to be that you would face?
No, I didn't know anything. And they didn't know that I was going to be who they were facing. They were also told that I was a liberal, even though I was very abundantly clear that I am a Black radical.
Wow.
Yeah, I got sidelined. I got blindsided by that. So, like by like the fourth person, I was like, why do y'all keep saying to me like liberal this, liberal that? And then the fourth person came up and she was like, well, just so you know, people keep saying that because they told us that you were a liberal. They told us that we were going to be debating a liberal. So no, I don't know. And I just think that I don't think anyone really understands what it is to be in this type of situation, because there's nothing that really prepares you for this. Because had they been white folks, I wouldn't have done it. Let's start with that. Because that would have just been sensationalist. I wanted to do this with Black folks. One, I thought they were going to have actual salient points. And like, even if their points were able to be challenged and debunked, like I just thought that they would have kind of points that were grounded more in, even if it was data or their version of facts. But really it was a lot of people just saying, well, my uncle and my cousin, my mom's cousin, and you know, I did this, so why can't anybody do that? So again, debates typically have rules, and there's no rules to this, right? So, you know, there was like me trying to be fair and let them talk. And then when I would talk back, they would then talk over me because they've been instructed, even if it's not directly, they've been instructed by the content to just yell over each other. Right? Like, and so there were 4 different points in the taping. They didn't show this, but there were 4 different points in the taping where I stopped the whole thing and said, like, I need y'all to understand I'm not your enemy. I'm not here to fight you. And the third time, we had a break. I came back. I led them in a group deep breath. I led them in a primal scream. I wanted them to understand that the goal of this is to demonstrate discourse. It's to demonstrate disparate discourse, civil discourse. And then by the last time I said, you know, nobody on the crew is Black. There ain't one Black person over there. We're over here in this fishbowl. And we can't even have a respectable conversation grounded in facts about our own community. What does that say? And I think to them, they thought what I was saying was that we're like, you know, uncivilized. But really what that says is that we have been infiltrated. That's what that says. And for those who don't understand why I did this, I honestly wanted to be able to, one, demonstrate civil discourse, but I also wanted to be able to demonstrate being something other than a Democrat or a Republican, while still having a deep, grounded, fact-based love for being Black, for being in the quest of liberation, and for understanding that there's going to be folks that have already been colonized. Their minds, like Black people in this nation have been the most useful resource of this nation. We, beyond our physical labor, now they're using our mental labor to push their policies, to literally push us backwards. They're weaponizing us. We're seeing Black ICE agents. We're weaponizing our identities. I'm seeing Black conservative influencers that I know don't believe what they're saying, but they can get a bag. They can get a bag, and they've decided that that's fine. You know, for me and my connection to my ancestors, that's not fine. But, you know, that's, so no, I didn't know anything going in. And the only thing I knew when I left was that I would never do it again.
Yeah, it's for people who don't know, they had another episode which I did not watch and I will not, called Black Men versus Black Women.
What?
Yes.
But
Black
what was
men
what's the verses?
I didn't
Just
watch
gender?
it. Yeah,
No, I mean, like, that was just
Black men versus Black women.
So the other part of this, Sabrina, is that they're in LA. And I'm going to tell you now, people will just sign up to be anything because they want to get seen. So many people have left wherever they're from to come here to make it, right? To come to LA to make it. For a lot of people, they're just like, this is a part that I'm playing. People to this day still think I am Tiffany from Insecure. Like, they really think that that's my personality. It's like,
yeah, it's sad. When I saw that, I was like, okay, they're going far and beyond. Amanda, one more thing I do want to ask you. Moving away from like politics, and we talk about movement building and organizing. One of the things that my producer Eric always says is that we need to have concrete demands. So he created this platform here called 11 Demands. Real change starts with demands: healthcare for all, a minimum standard of living for everyone. In the wars, MCDS, which stands for money, corruption, demands, and solution. Follow the money, call out the corruption, have robust demands, dial them up to 11. Good demands lead to good solutions. And there's a number of them. He shortened it for.
So Eric is a socialist, is what you're telling me.
Eric, I don't know if Eric labels himself as a socialist or not, but when you go through the 11 demands, one of those demands is also, for people who ask, is also reparations. One of the things that Eric has continued to point out is that, and we say it on the show, politicians are not heroes and they're not going to save you. What I seem to had noticed, it seemed like in 2024, there was a window for people to go in a different direction, for people to either vote third party or maybe focus on organizing, because of both parties were supporting like a genocide, et cetera. And what I've become to notice, now we're hearing more people talk about a general strike. And those of us at RBN, we talked about it like three and a half years ago. We had a general strike summit. Do you believe that it could be possible to build a movement around 11 demands, something that is outside of politics? One of the things I worry about is I look at some of the things from the past, like the BLM movement, which became co-opted. I look at successful ones like the civil rights movement or like the women's movement. And then I learn about CIA infiltration in those movements as well. Do you think it's possible in this day and age, we could have another massive movement that is outside of electoral politics that actually gets working class people some type of win?
Yes. I believe that one of the biggest reasons why the CIA was able to infiltrate so effectively into these movements for liberation was because they were dealing with people that were deeply unhealed. The trauma that they were fighting, they were continuously still living and still experiencing. And there is something that has happened in the past, I would say 10 years, where there has been, a surge of wellness and care, self-care within particularly the Black community that just didn't exist before, particularly with Black women, right? People are like, doing Beyonce meditation sessions, etc. That mindfulness is imperative to healing. I saw that there's a school in Baltimore that has stopped sending kids away for suspension and instead brings them into meditation for suspension and is teaching them, tools for managing their emotions, language for managing their emotions, right? So what I'm trying to say is one of the tools that those folks didn't have, we have. And we have to make mindfulness and actual psychological strengthening through healing the 12th demand. We have to have mental health as an integral part of our revolution. We are still, I just had these two dope brothers, David Turner III and Eric Morrison Smith of the Alliance for Men and Boys of Color in LA on Views from Amandaland. And they were talking about coalition building, and they were like, coalition building it's necessary and it's integral, but it's really, really difficult because we're dealing with folks, particularly Black folks, that have gone through trauma. And so we have trust issues. We have a fear of vulnerability. And so he said, we actually end up doing a lot of rapport building before we're even able to get to the work, right? And so that intimacy is where I believe our ability to win is going to live. That intimacy is completely disintegrated on this internet on a daily basis. The willingness for folks to engage in toxicity, I'm guilty of it too, is absolutely an impairment to our ability, to our own liberation. It's by design. If we're busy releasing that chemical into our bodies, we are not doing the work that can actually get these chemicals out of our air, because the AI stuff that they doing is actually messing up our ability to breathe as well. So that to me is possible. To answer your question, I think that even from what I've seen of the few demands, they seem completely possible and pertinent. However, I don't know that enough people are willing to admit the evil that we're facing, because it feels like it's like supernatural. So I want to just land the plane, and I want y'all to know, like, we're dealing with addicts. We're dealing with people who are addicted to money and power. And if you've ever dealt with addicts, you know that there's, an insatiable appetite for that which feeds them. But they're basically, the White House and the Hill is like a crack house. They're all just sharing the pipe of power. And so it's going to take us as a people doing our best to get clear-headed and to get to stay clean and not engage in their pipe passing to be of any value. And until we're willing to understand that, we're not going to get anywhere.
In between the White House and the Hill is a crack house. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for your time. Anything you got coming up that you want to promote?
Yes, you guys can watch my show Views from Amandaland every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern at YouTube, Amanda Seales TV. And I'm doing a residency every first Saturday of the month at the People's Forum with my one-woman show, What Would the Ancestors Say? And I'm also doing a summit at the People's Forum, September 19th, 20th, and 21st. It's the Amandaland Summit. And though we have registrations that are filled, we're keeping it small to 50 people. There will be two events that will be open to the public. One will be an event called Cracking Up the System. It's a panel that combines two socially conscious comedians with two organizers. So we have Davidson Boswell and comedian Christina Brown, and they will be in conversation with organizers Angie Langdon and Claudia de la Cruz. So that's going to be a fun time. And then that evening, we will have a live recording of my show, Views from Amandaland, which the guests are TBD. So hopefully you guys can come out to that. And you can also always subscribe to my Patreon, which is the best way to support me. And if you want to get some of my goods, some of my art, you can go to amandalandexports.com. That was a lot of promoting. That was a lot.
Awesome. Amanda, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm glad we were able to connect.
Thank you too. And I hope that you'll come on the Views from Interland.
Let me know.
All right. We got each other's info now. So it's going to happen. Have a good night, y'all.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Amanda Seals. Hope you learned quite a bit there. We're going to give a shout out to patrons. We're going to highlight super chats, and then we're going to get into the other news stories. We will have call in tonight after the show, so stay tuned and get cozy and comfy. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you, fam. If you're interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories here. Ultimate, there's Sabinators, there's Sabsters. We also have Sabbies. What? And of course, there are members. All of their names are listed here. And you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. Shout out to the Peeps fam. We're going to give a extra shout out here to the new Sabby patron. We call them newbies. Let's give it up for Katrina Greshner. Thank you, Katrina, and welcome. Welcome. You know that song in my head, Rhythm is a Dancer. You guys remember that song? Rhythm is a Dancer. I don't remember who sang that song, but thank you, Nia. So happy for this episode, Sabby. It's the best YouTube independent media crossover ever. Glad you got Miss Seals. Thank you with our eyes. Consciousness, peace, uhuru to this dynamic duo. Shout out to Miss Casey, who's been a member for 5 months. Amanda and other celebrities who are truly serious need to get the ADOS reparations framework and do politics. All other talk is just for attention. I don't think politics is for everybody. I don't think everybody needs to be a politician. Shout out to TJ for the super sticker. What? Thank you, Corey. Yeah, Miss Amanda, the more Bernie talks, or I should say what doesn't address in reference to supporting Palestine, I've totally lost heart. And several are like, that aren't red. And several are like, that aren't red. Oh, Corey. Thank you with our eyes. Dynamic duo. This is the move. Guide your attention to the African Diaspora Voters Education Board Association for the first national election of the African diaspora. A real move with Black money. Interesting. Shout out to Bose. Unfortunately, Dr. Mark Lamont Hill and or his store, Uncle Bobby's, is hosting Cop Mala in Philly during her book tour in a few weeks. Yeah, I heard about that. Shout out to Bose, who's been a member for 9 months. Thank you, AIR. What's Amanda's view on Pan-Africanism and its ties to Darwin's theory and forcing people to believe everyone is from Africa, which erases indigenous history? That is interesting. I'm sorry I didn't get to ask that, AIR. Shout out to jazz legend Walter Beasley in the house. Lord Jesus, this kid's know better. Thank you both. And thank you, Ratso, Reparations for Indigenous People, AIM. Reparations for Indigenous People, AIM. AIM? What do you mean by AIM? But of course, I support reparations for indigenous people. American Indian Movement. Oh, okay. Thank you. Of course. JB says, this was a great conversation. Shout out to my comrade, JB. Hey. All right, ladies and gents. I was thinking that too. I was AOL Instant Messenger. I was thinking that too. We have quite a bit to get into tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's theme is Everything is Coming Out. And I want to start off with this wild ass story coming out of Minneapolis. If you have not done so, fam, do me a solid and smash that like button. Thank you. If you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. And let's get to this school shooting. I looked at the data when this story was announced about school shootings in the United States, and I am going to share that with you. There's another school shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the shooter, of course, they have named him. I don't know what to say when it comes to these school shootings. I have a poll question. Please be sure to answer that. I have a question for any of you that grew up during the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s. If you could tell me what was different for you at that point in time when you were in school, it will make sense when I show you the data. But this was the news that broke just the other day, another school shooting. Where did we go from here?
We're coming back on the air with breaking news out of Minneapolis. Police and the mayor holding a news conference on a shooting that unfolded this morning at a Minneapolis church, Annunciation Church, also a school, pre-K to 8th grade. Let's listen in to Mayor Jacob Fry.
But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country. I'm so deeply saddened, and I'm so sorry to the families that I know are suffering right now. My ask is to everyone, stand by them, love them. These families have forever been changed, and we've all been changed with them. We need to do everything possible to support them through this time. We have a family resource center that has been set up. I'm grateful for all of the law enforcement agencies from a number of different jurisdictions, all the different departmental support that we've received. They're going to be working tirelessly.
You know, I have seen this man's face on the news more than I would like to. The first time was after the murder of George Floyd. I've continued to see him since then because there continues to be these incidents in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but he's the mayor there of Minneapolis, and now we are seeing him again. I am greatly, appalled at the number of school shootings that we have in this country. I am also concerned that it has become too common to the point where people are just like, oh, okay, it was another school shooting. And when I show you the data, you'll see what I'm talking about. There is something deeply broken in this country. And hopefully, maybe we can talk about it when we get to call in. This is something we can all break down, because I really want to know, for those of you who grew up in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 60s, what was different for you? Because those numbers weren't there like they are today. So there is something deeply twisted happening in this country. No other country has these numbers of school shootings. It is this one. And to the shooter, what in the world goes through your mind for you to go to a school and kill children? I know how you can go after somebody who's so innocent. How you can just, kids, babies, kids, their lives had just begun. What have they done wrong? We're going a little bit more here.
There's also a family resource center that is being set up as we speak to make sure that we're there for everybody. Again, to the families that are suffering, to those that have experienced loss, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be with you every step of the way. We love you. This kind of act of evil should never happen. and it happens far too often. The chief will provide additional details.
My name is Brian O'Hara, BRIAN_OHARA. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. Earlier today, just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy. Minneapolis police officers responded to a report of a shooting at a mass that was happening at the Annunciation Roman Catholic Church on the block behind me. This worship service was marking the first week of school for children that are attending the Annunciation Catholic School. During the mass, a gunman approached on the outside, on the side of the building, and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the mass. Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building. The shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children. And
one of the things I want to add here as well, this is why, and people don't like when I say this, but this is why I said, if I ever had a kid, I don't know that I would feel comfortable sending them to school. I said this one time on the show. I said, I don't know. I may want to homeschool them. And I know you can't shield them from everything. But I just feel like, are schools safe? Are they? The first school shooting that happened during my lifetime that I was in the U.S. for was Columbine. That shook the country from what I remember. I just remember that was a big deal. After Columbine, I remember my school, they were holding the meetings with the students to ask, is everybody doing okay, to check in and see how everybody, was feeling. But Columbine at that time was big. I was like, oh my God, and would never think that this would ever happen again. But they've increased since Columbine. And everybody wants to point blame. People want to blame video games. People want to blame it's the music. It's the movies. Guys, these other countries play the same video games, watch the same movies, and listen to the same music that we do. But they're not doing this. So it has to be deeper. It has to be deeper than that.
other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. Police officers from the Minneapolis Police Department immediately responded, entered the church, and attempted to provide first aid and rescue some of the children that were hiding throughout the building, while other first responders came and EMS responded to rush victims to nearby hospitals. Ages 8 and 10 were killed where they sat in the pews. Their parents have been notified. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children. 2 of those children are in critical condition. The coward who fired these shots ultimately took his own life in the rear of the church.
And that brings me to the shooter. And that's another thing, you know, to do this, like I say, everything's coming out, to do this and then to end it the way that you choose to end it so that you don't have to face like justice. You need to hear this, the information that they found about the shooter.
Is Robin Westman. At one point in his life, he was Robert Westman, 23 years old, if I'm correct. It sounded like he left a manifesto. What more do we know about him, Tom? Or about them, I should say.
Yeah, sure, Tom. So we've gone through a whole host of videos.
And sorry about that. I think I said the shooter, so the shooter was male, transitioned to female.
videos that were left behind online, as well as what he said. So the videos show a series of diaries, a series of writings, and he flips through them much the way if I were to show you a book and flip through it right now as you and I are talking. And some of it is not written in English. It's written in an Eastern European language, still trying to comb through that. There is a handwritten sketch, a diagram of a church, not clear if it's this particular church that is included in there. There are many violent things that he whispers under his breath as he's going through there. The bottom line, the themes of this in that manifesto that was referenced there by Chief O'Hara is suicidal thoughts, an apology to his family, extremely violent thoughts all throughout all of the writings and everything that we've seen. He also shows the gun magazines that perhaps were the exact magazines that he used in the shooting today. On one of them, he referenced the President of the United States saying, "Kill Donald Trump." There's other political references in there. So this is somebody who espoused a whole host of views, none of which neatly fit into any sort of box that's out there, but it is certainly incredibly violent. The FBI Director, Kash Patel, putting out a statement on social media tonight saying this is going to be investigated as a potential act of domestic terrorism and as a hate crime. Of course, with this individual being deceased, that pretty much ends that portion of the investigation.
Exactly. So he doesn't actually get to face justice. Here's the other thing, too. One of those magazines they said had killed Donald Trump on the magazine. So how do you go from you're angry with Donald Trump to going to a school to kill children? I don't make that connection. And maybe there's something that I'm missing there, but I just don't understand. I really don't get it.
Investigation. Right now, they would just try to see if anybody had helped him at any certain point. But as the chief alluded to here, they're not looking for anybody else at this stage. They believe that he acted alone and that those three weapons, a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, were all apparently purchased legally and purchased recently. So no indication that anybody bought the weapons for him. The question for the family members and for his friends is whether or not anybody saw anything in advance and could have possibly said something. But obviously much more on that as the day develops, Tom.
Yeah. So we do have, I want to bring this up here. This is the shooter to the right here in this video. And I just want to go ahead and sound the alarm now, because check this out. This gentleman here is now talking about launching Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built for law enforcement. So here we go, folks. This right here is going to be the kicker for them to make an excuse for them to increase surveillance. Here we go. Listen to it. He says it right here on Fox News.
Correct. I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7
What did he say? Using what technology? Listen.
Detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific.
Using Israeli-grade ontology.
Threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%.
In front of these attacks. So let me let them finish. I'm going to tell you what this really means.
I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700 sworn. This is America's early warning system.
Lieutenant.
Correct. I am now about to.
This is my warning to all of you. This is the pre-crime move. And this is what, see, all this talk about crime, have you guys noticed this? All this talk about crime, you know, since the past like couple of months or whatever, Donald Trump sends the National Guard into DC. The DC mayor, as of earlier today, is now agreeing with Donald Trump and saying, thank you for this is working out great. Crime is down. They're all getting on board. And mark my words, this is something that is going to be bipartisan. It is going to be bipartisan that they want to increase surveillance. I'm not kidding when I say I feel like we are heading towards Minority Report. If you haven't seen the movie, check it out. You should be able to watch it for free now. But that's the direction that we're moving into, guys. They want to increase surveillance. They want to watch us. I mean, apparently the Patriot Act wasn't enough. And now let me talk about how this can go very, very wrong. Very, very wrong. Let's say that this type of technology, this Israeli grade technology, goes wrong. Technology doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. We all know from experience. Let's say it makes a mistake and it is predicting that said person is about to commit a crime. Next thing you know, the police got guns facing you, aimed at you, and the technology got it wrong, and it was actually somebody else. All these years, they've been talking about facial recognition, increasing those types of things. They want to watch us. They want to control us. And by they, I mean the government. They've been wanting to do this. This stuff has been coming down the pipeline. And what will they say? Well, America's a violent country. The mayor of DC said it earlier this morning in the press conference. She said that the crime is now down in DC because he brought the National Guard in. She's a Democrat. So what did I tell you? This is no partisan difference on this. Both parties, both of these politicians, both parties support increased surveillance. We had it under Obama. We had it under Donald Trump. And it's been continuing. And they can point to incidents like this. They can point to incidents like, like the guy that shot the Israeli couple in DC. They can point to those incidents and say, this is what we need to stop. And Whitney Webb has sounded that alarm. Listen to this. I warned about the pre-crime push to stop mass shootings before they happened for years, especially during the first Trump administration. I don't think it's a coincidence that this happens just as the full extent of the Epstein-Thiel Carbine 911 relationship is being revealed. I wrote about Epstein, Thiel, and Carbine, as well as Trump's previous pre-crime push after a spate of 2019 mass shootings, which then Attorney General William Barr, who launched a DOJ pre-crime program called DEEP, seemed to predict in an odd speech together in the same article. And she put it here. She said, check it out and don't fall for the latest tragedy being used to coerce you into signing away your remaining freedoms to a pre-crime surveillance state. And I could see people falling for this. I could see people saying, well, yeah, I want to be safe. So let me go ahead and sign up for this. They want to watch you. They want to control you. That's what this is. And then we got another question that we need to ask as well. We need to talk about why we have so many mass shootings, in particular school shootings in this country. When you look at the data, this is from 1999 to 2025, and we're going to go further back as well. 1999 to 2025, K through 12. Look at this. 1999, 23. These are the number of incidents, right? Watch the numbers go up as the years go by. We went from 23 in 1999 to right now, 2025 is not over, but so far it says 116. 2024, 332. It's continued to increase over the years. And I've been sounding the alarm about this, guys. This shit is not normal. We have to stop normalizing school shootings. And people have been doing it. People don't even get freaked out the way that they used to. When Columbine happened, I was freaked out. And then you'll see here, let's go further back. I was asking some of you who were around, if you grew up in the 60s, the 70s, etc. Look at this graph here. 2024 saw the second highest number of K through 12 school shooting incidents. So look at this. Over the years, if you look down here, this starts at 1970 We'll go a little further back. 1970. So you can see the number of incidents for the school shootings. There's Columbine right there. Columbine wasn't even a higher year. Look at how it has increased over the years. Sandy Hook, Parkland, Uvalde, Appalachia. Do you guys see this? I'll show you another version of this that you can see as well. A different angle here. So it shows incidents is red, victims is that deep yellow, and green is death. So if we just look at incidents alone, we go back to 1966. 9 incidents total. As we go through the years, look at this. 70s, 80s, 25, 84, 86, 17, right? Oh, excuse me. That was victims. We're looking at the red. Okay, so not even that much. But as we get to 2020, 2005, 2006, 59 incidents. We continue to go. Just look at this. These are the numbers. They continue to increase. 2018, 119. 2019, 124. Let's go all the way up. 2023, 349. This is a sickness. And this should not be normalized. The hell is happening to us as a society? It continues to increase, folks. It's not going down. So, what changed? We can look at economic issues. We can look at poverty, for example. We can look at altogether, we can look at capitalism. Because I think that's what a lot of this comes down to. We can look at mental health, increase in mental health, lack of health care. I don't know, but something changed. So for those of you who are watching, if you grew up, I want to know, if you grew up in the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s, what was different for you? Let me know. Let me know. Like, we can't blame entertainment. A lot of people are blaming entertainment. You can't blame entertainment anymore. There were violent movies back then too. And people in other countries also watch violent movies. Miss Ritchie says the internet. That's interesting. New York says the graph changed, the category of mass shooting changed. It's actually still rare. It's rare, but it's still increasing. That's the problem. Let's go over here. Jeremy said, yes, mom and dad were stable. Dublin said community support and family and friends love. Automaton says capitalism has worsened. That's what's changed. Devotion. In the 80s, as a kid, I never heard about a school shooting anywhere. FM said, I grew up in the 80s. These incidents were not even a thought. Interesting. Thank you for the super chat. Emerald says, in all ways, a lone wolf. Right. Now, some people have beliefs. They say maybe this person was programmed or whatever. We don't know. Could be. We don't know. But the school shooting situation has been a problem in this country. Brian said, I graduated from high school 2 years before Columbine in 1999. Even after Columbine, no one thought it would become the norm. Plus, before 1997, we didn't have the internet. Seems like there's a correlation with the internet. Interesting. Thank you. What democracy? I am really bothered by this Zionist mayor getting worked up about these kids and not giving a crap about kids in Gaza. Same with Joe Biden. There you go. That's a good point. Thank you, Kenman. Shootings related to rise of nihilism in society. Perry, thank you. Sabby, could this have been a false flag to spy on us even more? We don't know. Could be, could not be. All I know, that doesn't change the issue that we have in this country with school shootings, though. Like, this has been a problem. Jamasino, YouTube has been prepping minds playing Sandy Hook anti-gun ad months before this incident. I've been seeing those for years. I don't know if they ramped them up, but I've been seeing those for years. Thank you, Perry. Guns when properly used, aren't the problem. Remember the Black Panthers. With our eyes, born in Oklahoma in 1967, I frequently visit family in Texas, Arkansas, and Missouri. School shootings was never a thought. We did tornado drills and fire drills only. I homeschool 5. Opal Lee, Juneteenth is my first cousin. Thank you, Jewel in the Machine. I blame MK Ultra, false flags, and an extremely violent government. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. Thank you, Juliet. I graduated in 1965. Guys drank Thunderbird wine. I don't even know what that is, but I guess I'll have to Google that. Thunderbird wine. I don't know what that is. Adrian said to shoot an 8-year-old child is a different level of mental illness. And Notori says, I'm glad I don't have children. All I'm going to say is this, man, and this is to be the trigger. Okay, we're going to increase surveillance on Americans. It's crazy. I don't know. Like I said, it's all coming out. Everything's coming out now. They've been waiting to do this. They've been waiting to increase surveillance on us. Let's get the comment on Rockfin. Thank you, Roger. I didn't know she met with VP Cam and all she did was ask her about racism. Government can't erase racism from the hearts and minds. If you don't approach the politician with a set of policy, prescription, solution, priorities, and you leave it to the politician, then you get crap policy or no policy. This was evidence when Cam asked, well, what do you expect me to do? I wish a politician would ask me that. I wish they would ask me that. Thank you, Soul Roster, says MK Ultra. Thank you, Roger. New York was Wild Wild West in the 1980s. And thank you, SB. It's social nihilism. Haas Infrared ACP chairman explained it 2 days ago on Kick. The rise of mass media led to the death of local communities. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy, crazy stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the next story. Alex Jones. Oh, boy. Alex Jones has sent a warning about Donald Trump. And some people are saying that people need to pay attention to what he's saying here because they said that he's been pretty spot on about some other things. Notice I said some. Not everything, but about some other things. And it kind of brought me back to this. Remember we were talking about this the other day? And I said, what is up with Donald Trump's hand? Remember we were talking about this? Brian Allen said Trump's hand is visibly bruised. He hides it, then shows it, then hides it again. Remember we were talking about like what's going on with dude's hand? Okay. Well, Alex Jones brought up some other issues, some other ones. And I think people need to see this. Again, this is a lot coming from him. Here's another one that people are sharing around. The Jerome Powell gaffe, right? So in 2017, even weirder yesterday, Alex Jones said he can tell that Trump's health is declining because of all the pressures of presidential duties. He says all presidents age twice as fast, and we see it happening right before our eyes. So in 2017, here's a picture of Donald Trump, and he says, it is my honor to announce my nomination of Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. That was 2017. In 2025, here's Donald Trump. I was surprised when Jerome Powell was appointed. So people, these are some of the things that people are pointing out. Remember, we started to notice some of these things with Joe Biden, like as well. Now, Alex Jones is telling people, excuse me, Donald Trump is headed for a health collapse. Listen to this.
Nobody, I don't care who they are, can operate at the level he does and the intensity over long periods of time, nonstop. You can have the very best engine, made by the Japanese, and you can't drive the car for 2 months straight, never turning the engine off. You just can't do it. And so, as I said back when Biden was getting ready to run, back then I said his cognitive decline is serious and showed videos from him months before where he still was a little weird but got a lot worse. I said, I think he's probably had another aneurysm or another stroke or something. He's already had a bunch of big brain surgeries. And they're like, oh, we're censoring you, fake news. And of course, it was all true. This isn't going to go away because Trump's not going to cut his schedule back and take care of himself. Again, a 45-year-old man couldn't do this. So as the crisis gets worse, and it's going to get worse, because you can see him declining faster and faster. It's not super bad yet. But unlike Biden that was completely shot and had all these brain surgeries and the rest of it, Trump has got great genetics. He's tough. And if he takes care of himself, he can make it through these years and then after. But if he doesn't, he's going to have, I predict Trump is going to have some type of collapse within the next 12 months at the current trajectory. I'm not.
Everybody hearing this? Right? So some of us saw this about Joe Biden during the Democrat primary debates when he was running in 2020. We were kind of calling this out back then that Joe Biden is, I'm like, yo, dude is slipping. What's happening? What is going on? But the DNC pushed him through anyway. You know how that goes. And so he had concerns about Joe Biden before he announced that he was going to run. And now he's telling people about Donald Trump's health. And wait till you see some of the things that he points out. Like, I saw the hand. I didn't see the cankle thing. So he's going to get into that as well.
Saying he's going to collapse. I'm saying if he doesn't take his foot off the gas pedal, I guarantee you, and I've got stamina, way better than most people. If I had Trump's job at 51 for a month, I would have a nervous breakdown. So this isn't a criticism of Trump, but it'd be like taking an ultra marathon runner and saying, okay, you can run 100 miles in 2 days. Well, how about 300 in 2 days? You can't do it.
Sorry here. Let's go to the next part, because a lot of people are talking about this. Let me just go past this picture here. And I think that this is something people need to be paying attention to, because that could mean that JD Vance will be stepping in before you know it. Something to think about.
So I really want Trump to cut the work days to 14 hours, not 20. I mean, here's an example. They looked at his schedule last week when he went up to Alaska, and he was seen doing interviews and getting on and off airplanes and things in a 35-hour period. And every hour or so, he was doing some interview or talking to officials and doing meetings and events. It looks like he didn't sleep. You can't do that at 50. You can't do it at 20. You sure as hell can't do it at 79. And as more evidence of that, let me just go ahead and hit this now. I see this headline and I go, oh, let me go actually watch him say this. And sure enough, he did.
Someone was asking about cankles. Cankles or chubby ankles? Is that Sabby Bites? Yeah, cankles are chubby ankles. It's when your ankle is swollen.
And I know some of the inside baseball that really hasn't been talked about. Yeah, and you see a little swelling there. If you pull up the ankles from Alaska, it's a straight-on shot. They are big. They are swollen. I mean, they are really big. I mean, they look like my neck's 19 and a half inches, about like that. His ankles look like they're about 15 inches around. That's not a good sign for the heart and the rest of the body, because the rest of him, he's lost weight. He's not that fat. So
he literally said he's not that fat. Oh my God. Checkpoint said Alex Jones is actually being logical. I don't know. I've heard people say Keikos before. Oh my gosh.
Trump really needs to exercise and take care of himself. Yeah, that's
it right there. So you guys see, that's not a good thing. Like, and of course, you know, like they're trying to make this seem like it is a good thing. Not that it is a good thing, but you guys know the same way that the press secretary covered for Biden, the press secretary for Donald Trump is saying he has a good bill of health. So we didn't been down this road before. But I'm looking at the picture my damn self. No, that's not good. That's not good. Miss Kiwi says she thinks it may be blood pressure and kidney function problems. You know, when you have swelling, and I'm no doctor, but swelling isn't a good thing, right? Like, especially there. I don't know.
that's not good. For everybody that you've known that's having heart problems, that's not good right there. Okay? And they're getting bigger and bigger. And so Trump,
It's one of those things that you don't notice. You can get away with it when you're standing, especially if your pants leg comes below your ankles, which I would assume for most dudes it does, right? Like, especially if you're wearing a suit. But once you sit down, you know, cankles are exposed. So this is one of those things I told a friend of mine one time when she was wearing mismatched socks or whatever. She was like, nobody's going to notice. And then she sat down and people were like, you got a different color socks, like that type of thing. But that's not good. I don't care like what, you know, the press secretary is saying. That is not a good sign.
he's a maniac. He's our maniac. But he's like a racehorse. If you run it in a race every day, it's going to end up having a heart attack or breaking a leg. You run it once a month. So I saw this headline. I said, let me go see if this is true. It is. This is out of the Mirror. Trump's afterlife fear sparks fresh health concern as president admits, I'm not doing well. He goes on to say, I don't know if I'm going to get into heaven. I want to try to get into heaven if possible. I'm hearing that I'm not doing well. Trump told Fox, he went on to say, I want to stop world war.
So did everybody hear that? The whole I don't know about the heaven thing. Yeah. Eartha said compression socks. Yeah. This doesn't sound good.
So he feels an incredible responsibility. He's a really good person. He's extremely driven. I know a lot of people that have this similar level, not as much energy as him. He's got the most energy I've ever seen. But I know some super lawyers. I know some other people in business. And they've all got what you'd call Asperger's, basically. And you know, Elon Musk admits he has it, high functioning, 180 IQ. Those are just names science gives it to gifted people, you know, savants. But I don't think Trump's going to be able to stop himself. This is the way he is genetically. But if the people around him could just get him to take off one day a week, if he could just go play golf and watch movies and, you know, have some fun, he deserves it. And anybody that knows, you know, the military, they don't rotate the Navy SEALs and Delta Force and Army Special Operations.
Who made this? So let me say something here about the stress of that job. Do you guys remember how George W. Bush looked his second term? Remember how Obama looked his second term? Yeah, there is something to be said for that. Like 8 years in the White House, in the Crook House, 8 years in the Crook House, there's something to be said for that. But Donald Trump, I told you guys, even when he was debating Kamala, he was not the same Donald Trump as he was when he ran in 2016. You could see that obviously he's older, you know, things change as you get older, but now we're looking at health situations. Who knows? There could have been health issues before he, you know, won the presidential election. He could have already gone into rerunning and already had that. We don't know. I don't know. Or maybe it came later. Either way, I think that people need to start paying attention to JD Vance as well, because I wouldn't be surprised if he has to end up stepping in during this term, unless Trump tries to, you know, continue to ride this as long as he can.
Back for the last 4 months of every deployment because they don't want them in the field. They know they get better performance and don't get burnout. If special operations people work 8 months and then come back and get debriefed for a couple of weeks and then spend 3.5 months off. You've got to put the battleship in the dry dock and give it a break. Now, I mean, that said, I hardly ever take off. Any vacation I take, I end up working. A vacation for me is like I'm working 8 hours a day. So I know of what I speak. But I come back after a week vacation of only working 8 hours a day, and I feel incredible because it gives you time to rest the synapses, and you're more effective when you do it.
So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. What if this was all a part of the plan? What if it was all a part of the plan, just like when Biden and Kamala, you know, decided, you know, team up and they were running, you know, in 2020. Remember, Biden was only supposed to serve one term. that was supposed to be the plan. Then that dude got in there and he didn't want to step aside. So that's a whole other story that we've gotten into before. But what if the plan was similar for Trump and JD Vance? What if the plan was just like, look, I'm going to go out there and win this thing because a lot of people who supported me before would probably support me again because of the economy and the wars, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, of course, not mentioning that he wasn't going to hold those things true. But what if that was the plan for Donald Trump to say, I'm going to run because I know that I can beat Biden or Kamala. And then whoever he had selected for the VP, which at that time was JD Vance, it was, you know, and then whatever happens, happens, and I'll pass it over to you. What if that was, I mean, they wouldn't tell us that. They're not going to just say, yeah, well, I'm just going to hand it over to this guy. What if that was part of this? If that is the case, then Peter Thiel wins. Because JD Vance is a Peter Thiel creation. We cannot forget that. We already see they're ramping up the surveillance state. Put all the pieces together in the puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. So what if that was the way that this was designed to go? We don't know. But right now, it's not looking too good. And like I said, Alex Jones obviously supported Donald Trump, voted for Donald Trump. And if he's saying it, doesn't look good, bruh. Doesn't look good for Donald. That's what I'm saying. Everything is coming out. More people being vocal. I don't know what is going to happen, you know, going forward. But if I were to make a prediction, it's Donald Trump's first year. It hasn't even been 1 year yet. And we're already seeing these issues, the health issues. So what do you think is going to happen? Ay, folks. Eric, can we go to part 2 of Type VNC? I'll go to the comments here in the chat. Thank you, Jay. There was a school shooting in a wealthy suburb of Chicago when I was 6 years old. That was back in 1988. It was rare, but it freaked me out. Yeah, thank you, Pine. The amount of school shooters on psych meds which have violent side effects is hidden from news reports. It's the elephant in the room. That is interesting. I wasn't aware of that, Pine. Thank you, Marvin. More single parent families, less work now. Yeah. When both parents didn't have to work. Thank you for this one, Pine. Trump's health is declining because of all the pressures of the Big Mac. Skylar said Trump's body is decaying because whatever demon he allowed to take hold of him has started to eat his body from the inside out. Next up, what's left of his soul? Skylar's been watching some horror movies. Thank you, Joan. FFF, this guy. Love you, Sabby. Love you, Joan. Thank you, Miss Ritchie. Rogan commented that Trump didn't drink anything or use the bathroom before, during, or after their entire 3-hour interview, abusing his kidneys and heart. That's interesting. I drink a lot of water, so I always have to, always have to use the restroom. Thank you, John Masino. Vance said he owned. Wait, I think it's broken up. Oh, Vance said once he was pinging BVP bed his pick. No, we says he ready to take. Oh, I think you're trying to say Vance said he's ready to take over. Interesting. Take over. Well. All right, ladies and gents, couple announcements. We got 2 more stories for you, and then we will be heading into call in. So stay tuned for that. Quick announcement, guys. Yes. We do have a teaser trailer here for my documentary. For those who are not aware, yes, I do have a documentary coming out this year. I wanted to go ahead and give you a teaser for it. If you didn't get to see it last time, here's a quick one. It's called Removed, Black Erasure in Boston. I hope you guys like it. This is what we got so far. Yes, Boston is home to winning sports teams and elite universities. But some might say that there are 2 Bostons.
If you look at City Hall, no one's talking about that specific racial and historical component that Black people are the ones that are being removed.
There's a huge, significant difference in lived experiences, and we know this because of the wealth report. We're at $8.
This whole plan of gentrification isn't a new concept. In every city you go into in the Northeast, they kept moving Black people out of the inner city. So it's a plan. It's been in place for a long time.
While the displacement isn't as bad as 1963, it hasn't gotten much better now.
It's by design that they've created spaces where we are no longer seen anymore. They're wiping us out one community at a time, and they're getting away with it. This is gentrification. Franklin Park has been a place where we have built community, and all these things are at risk.
Why is the mayor willing to throw herself on this sword, do or die, for this project?
It's not about soccer. It's about the additional profits that can be made in this entertainment complex. It's a disrespect that you would take public parkland and then give it to a private group to control it. And this project is Emmett Till's mama pulling back a curtain. And if people don't look at what's behind that curtain, it's coming to them.
All right, so that's a teaser for it there, ladies and gents. Yeah, some people are not going to be happy about that. Probably one of them being Mayor Wu, but she's not the only one. But these are some things that need to be said. And I told you guys before how I feel about gentrification. I'm 100% against it. And I think there's some things that obviously need to be done. And when you have mayors that are in the bed with big developers, it doesn't matter who was mayor. You know, we had this issue under Mayor Menino. We had this issue under Mayor Marty Walsh. We have this issue under Mayor Michelle Wu. But they just keep constantly, they're going into Black neighborhoods, taking over spaces, demolishing people's homes. People need to know about this. I don't think a lot of people realize this with Boston. So when you come here and people say, where are all the Black people? You need to know there's a story about that. There's a reason why you don't see as many here anymore, right? So we should have this out before November. We do have a fundraiser. This is to pay my editor. We've been doing pretty well. The goal is 10,000. We got to 7,000. And so if you want to donate there, I'm also going to make sure I share that video link in the documentary fundraiser as well, so people can see that teaser there as well. But thank you to everybody who has donated. But yeah, Scott's been doing a really good job, man. He's killing it with this. Another announcement. You guys have been asking about that mutual aid workshop. Yes, Saturday, September 6th at 11 a.m. ET is the next mutual aid workshop that I'm hosting. I will send the instructions. It's virtual. It's via Zoom. I will send the link and all of that in my newsletter. So if you're not signed up for my newsletter and you want to attend, make sure you sign up for my Substack. That's where that information will go out. I thought the last one went very well. So we were going to do another one September 6th, that Saturday at 11 a.m. ET. I'll keep announcing that until we get to the 6th, just so people remember. Okie dokie. We're moving on to the next story, folks. If you haven't had a chance to do so, smash the like button. Thanks. And we're moving on to this clown of a man called Ritchie Torres. Ritchie Torres has been outed in so many different ways. Now, a number of you know that he takes AIPAC money. We've talked about that before. You know he's pro-Israel. We've dived into all of that. But now there's something else. Ritchie Torres invested in weapon makers as he backed billions in arms for Israel. So now we see it isn't just about him taking money from AIPAC. It isn't just about him shilling for Israel and defending their genocide. Ritchie also, he profited from it. This clown of a man right here, Ritchie Torres. Congressman office tells Sludge the defense contractor stocks were bought by an independent manager and that he will no longer be buying individual corporate stocks. See what I was saying before about Congress members buying up stocks? This is what I was talking about. This is it's not just him, just in general. This is the problem. While urging the White House to speed up bomb deliveries to Israel, Representative Ritchie Torres was also adding defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Northrop to his portfolio. That's Northrop Grumman. In the months after Israel's assault on Gaza began, Ritchie Torres became one of the most outspoken Democrats in Washington, demanding uninterrupted arms shipments after breaking ranks with his Democratic colleagues. And there's a reason for that. It's not just the money that he took from AIPAC. It's because he was invested in the stocks from those weapon manufacturers. How can you be so fucking low? So you see what I'm saying? You are wasting your time if you go to Ritchie Torres and you say, but the kids in Gaza. Ritchie decided the moment that he wanted to make money with those stocks, he was going to look the other way. The moment he decided to align with AIPAC, he was going to look the other way. And this is another reason why Congress members should not be allowed to do stock trading. I've been firm on this issue. A little bit more here. Don't forget, Ritchie Torres also voted for the $17 billion weapons package to Israel that passed Congress in April 2024. Remember that? See, all of these votes and his actions, it all makes sense now, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Torres' recent financial disclosures show his portfolio was newly invested in the same companies whose products were being shipped to Israel. In a recently filed report, he disclosed stock purchases made in September 2024 in Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and L3 Harris. These are three of the largest U.S. weapon companies supplying Israel's military. The trades were not reported until nearly a year later. That is past the 45-day deadline that is required under the 2012 Stock Act. He never previously disclosed owning corporate stocks before these purchases, and he has since amended his 2024 financial disclosure to reflect these holdings and others. So Ritchie Torres was willing to agree for the death of Palestinian people and babies so he could trade stocks. Not just AIPAC. It's disgusting. And now he's trying to find a way to kind of rebrand a little bit because he's starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. I spoke to Jose Vega at the Icarus Fest. He was there. Jose Vega is running against Ritchie Torres. And Jose Vega is saying now Ritchie Torres is trying to go around in the Bronx and knock on doors of Bronx family members that he never had to knock on before because AIPAC had his back. Now Ritchie Torres is trying to pretend to do some type of mutual aid, which he was not doing before because the world has turned against Israel. And everybody knows that Ritchie is one of Israel's biggest defenders. And so he might be in some trouble. Ritchie Torres has to go. He's got to get out of Congress. You got to get that clown out. When Ritchie Torres first ran for office, there was an article about him I think the New Yorker or the New York Mag, I forget which one. They described Ritchie Torres as a candidate that he checked off all the progressive boxes. And as I read that article, I said, this guy is going to be a shill. And I was right. This guy is another one that was tapped on the shoulder to do the bidding of the Israeli lobby. And they keep getting them. They keep finding them. The black faces in high places. Let's get a Cory Booker. Let's get a Hakeem Jeffries. Let's get this Ritchie Torres guy. Let's make black people think that somebody in there is fighting for them. And they pick them. And they go onto these shows and do clown things like this. Ritchie Torres was on the Adam Friedland show. I want you to hear what he said here. Now, Adam Friedland, from what I understand, is Jewish. Watch this.
Hamas murdered thousands of people.
So what does that mean?
That Hamas is a terrorist organization for murdering innocent children and civilians.
How many civilians have been killed in this war?
The war is a tragedy, but
90%
again,
of
you're
them have been
suggesting
civilians.
that
They've killed journalists.
People have been killed in a war. It's been a tragedy.
They've killed people waiting for aid.
But you're suggesting that it is the policy of the Israeli government to murder civilians, and that is a notion that I reject.
You gotta listen, man. You gotta be like a human being about this.
People who are dying in the war, which to me is a tragedy, because war is a tragedy.
Do you feel in your heart that this is what you're doing? What you're saying is right?
If you remove Hamas,
you don't actually think that.
I told you what I believe. Don't tell me what I believe. I've told you what I believe.
Why would you believe that?
Because there are people who see the world differently. I know it's a shock to you, but there are people who see the world differently.
So Ritchie Torres has and will always be a clown, a corporate shill. Imagine bringing up, well, Hamas killed 1,200 people, and there are hundreds of, they're not going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you, there are hundreds of thousands of Palestinians that have been killed in Gaza. That's the real number. Hundreds of thousands, not no damn 50,000. The news keeps reporting that. The math ain't mathin'. This is how he can do. You see this? He never gave a damn. Talking to Ritchie Torres about this is a waste of time. He bought into it. The moment he got the stocks, he bought into it. And they described this guy as a progressive when he was running for office. You see how the Democrat establishment were able to co-opt the word progressive? You know why they said Ritchie Torres was progressive when he started to run for office? They said he was progressive because he grew up poor in a single parent household, and he believes in fighting for health care, that everybody should have health care. Apparently that was enough for him to be painted as progressive. The litmus test for what it means to be progressive has been lowered. It's not the same. So anytime somebody is sitting up here and they're trying to make it seem as though the 1,200 people who died are more important than the hundreds of thousands of people who have died, you already know what the game is. So he's being called out because of this interview. He's very much embarrassed, but Ritchie Torres needs to lose. And luckily, there is someone, Jose, who is challenging him again. He is running as an independent. He said, I visited the McKinley houses in the South Bronx, a housing project he touts as having support from. So Jose is a man of the people. Listen to this.
Ritchie Torres, we coming for you.
So it turns out that Israel's biggest cheerleader, Ritchie Torres, was personally profiting off of the slaughter and genocide of the Palestinian people. Not only was he voting against ceasefire resolutions, not only was he voting to send money, arms, and weapons to Israel, he was investing in the same companies that were producing missiles, bombs, bullets that would be used to kill 80% of the casualties in Palestine, which turned out to be innocent civilians. That's the person who represents this area. And that's who I'm here to talk to the constituents. See, he was here 3 days ago in McKinley houses.
Hello, it's Congressman Torres from the Bronx. I'm here at McKinley houses in the South Bronx.
And so I want to talk to the constituents to see if they know what their congressman has been up to.
He looks so uncomfortable. Hold on, don't he look uncomfortable there? He looks very uncomfortable. Oh dear God, I have to mingle with the poor people. I have to mingle with the lower income people. You can tell that he don't look comfortable. Ritchie, yes, okay, I get it. He grew up a single parent household. Yeah, you're not dealing with that now. Ritchie got money now. Ritchie comfortable.
In the South Bronx.
And so I want to talk to the constituents to see if they know what their congressman has been up to, show them a good alternative, me, and see just what their concerns about and how much they actually do care about Palestine and Israel. Do you know who this man is?
I don't.
No.
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 This man is Congressman Ritchie Torres, and he represents this district.
Mhm.
And it was revealed that he is investing in companies that make weapons, missiles, bombs, and bullets. He himself personally was investing in these companies that send weapons and missiles to Israel. He's doing it under your name. For the last 4 years, was voting to send money and weapons to Israel. This video is of journalists at a hospital in Palestine, live TV. You see Israel just strikes them out of nowhere.
We got to pause this part. Sorry. Okay, here we go.
Well, these are journalists at a hospital in Gaza,
What are
in
they
Palestine.
doing?
They're there. They're just working there at the hospital. All of a sudden, boom, an Israeli missile.
Wow.
A missile hit these journalists on live TV. That is what Ritchie Torres is voting to send money and weapons to. He is the biggest cheerleader for the genocide that's happening in Palestine.
Oh, wow.
He invested money into the companies that make missiles and weapons that are sent to Israel. Yeah. I'm dead ass.
That is, I don't know. That is something else.
That's the person who represents you right now.
Oh, no. Well, we don't want him. We want you there. Get it. Kick him out.
Remember the name Jose Vega.
Jose Vega? Okay.
We need a new Congress.
Yeah.
You do need a new Congress. You need a new congressman. My name's
Mhm.
Jose Vega. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Jose Vega.
Jose Vega. Check my boy Jose Vega out.
My name's Jose Vega, and I want to represent you. Would you support me?
I would support you.
Yeah, you'll vote for me?
Vote Jose.
Remember the name, Jose Vega.
Jose Vega, I got you.
And that is so smart of Jose to do. They don't even know who Ritchie Torres is. Do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Who? No. Who's that? You know why they don't know who he is? Because he don't come around there. He's not around. That's why they don't know who he is. Now, there's even more. I thought this was pretty cool. Jose decided to call Ritchie Torres his office. Congressman Ritchie Torres is asking people to give him a call. So you see how Ritchie's trying to reach out now because he's a little bit worried because of this whole Israel thing. So check this out.
All right, so I got this mailer in the mail, and other people have been sending it to me who live here in the Bronx. So you should give Ritchie Torres a call too. You should tell him how grateful you are of him as a congressman. I encourage it. He put it out on a public leaflet, so everyone should give him a call and just say, thank you, Ritchie, for profiting off the death of children. And also tell him, vote Vega. Vote for Jose Vega, who will be replacing him. Hi, is this the office of Ritchie Torres? Great. I'm so glad I'm calling. I got a mailer and I wanted to say thank you, Ritchie, for profiting off the death of many innocent women and children while voting to continue funding the war in Israel or the genocide in Gaza. And, you know, I know he invested in Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and other military industrial complex places. I wanted to say thank you for stealing Bronx taxpayer money to fund the death of children. And I'm so glad that the congressman of the poorest congressional district in the country is a total asshole who has done nothing for this district except profit off of death, whether it's here in the Bronx or in Gaza. So I just hope Ritchie could get that message.
We gotta give it up. We gotta drop the beat for Jose. You guys want to drop the beat? We gotta drop the beat for Jose. That was epic. Dance with me. Dance with me. Drop the beat in the street. But wait, there's more.
Thank you, sir. I took your message down. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
Is there anything I can help you with?
Is there anything you can help me with? Yeah, you can, you know, make him resign, or you could quit. I mean, how could you work for somebody like that? Is this for a paycheck, or, you know, are you okay with working for somebody who does absolutely nothing for his constituents and only for Israel? Because, you know, he's a member of Congress, not a member of the Knesset.
Okay, so we took your information down. We'll go ahead and pass it off to the contractor.
Thank you so much. Okay.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. That was epic. That was epic, right? So Jose is doing a really great job. Like, shout out to Jose there again. Like I said, everything is coming out, folks. People are seeing him for what he really is. And then I want to show you what happened last year, right? So Jose is like an everyday dude. He's an everyday average dude. You know, he's not trying to be like a Ritchie Torres. Like last year, he said, I recorded this video in February 2024 when I voted at a coffee shop, when I worked at the coffee shop in the Bronx. Yeah, this was Jose, again, just everyday dude.
Yeah?
Against Ritchie Torres.
Oh my God. Really? I hate that.
VoteVega.nyc. Yeah. Yeah, it's at JOSBTRIGGA. That man is supporting genocide, and I can't stand for it anymore. I think the fact that this, you know, almost 30,000 people have died in Gaza and counting. A lot of those are children, and he knows this. He acknowledges this, and he says we need to go even further, and we need to go even harder. I think you know, you look at the Bronx and you see the way it's been for the last 60 years. Nothing has been changed. You know, we need an immediate program to actually revitalize the Bronx and New York City and New York State and the country as a whole by bringing in productive jobs. Imagine if you had the youth that are out here who are unemployed or have no training, or if you have people who fell on hard times, whatever the reason is, if you can give them a program where they can actually get training, but like real training.
Not summer youth.
Yeah, not summer youth, you know, like you're going to learn how to be an engineer. You're going to learn how to be a carpenter, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your neighborhood and you're going to build a hospital. You're going to build a school. You're going to build high-speed rail. Okay, that's what real productivity is. That's what meaning is. I don't care what a person was, whether they're a high school dropout, college laureate, you know, a drug addict. Anybody should be allowed to change their life for the better.
See, this is what I'm talking about. That's the difference between Ritchie Torres and Jose Vega. Jose Vega, you know, just he's not on the cover of magazines. Like he's not like he's just an everyday working class dude that wants something better for his community and, you know, for like his neighborhood. And you'll see this one as well. This is another one that was recent. It is 6:30 a.m. in the Bronx and I couldn't sleep. So I decided to get up and tell the laborers and commuters of the Bronx what a horrible person Ritchie Torres is. Are you prepared to join me? See, this is so smart.
Good morning, everyone. It is 6:30 a.m. here in the Bronx, and I couldn't sleep last night after watching the Adam Friedland interview with Ritchie Torres. I'm up this early because I'm prepared to go talk to laborers and people who commute in New York City who actually make the city work about what a terrible person Ritchie Torres is. I have my iPad here. I'm ready to show people videos. I'm ready to show people the truth. I'm just going to show them what Ritchie Torres himself has said. And I'm going to show them the statements, the vitriol, and the total apathy that this man has, not just for the people of Palestine, but even for his own constituents too. And I'm going to be telling them this so they don't vote for him again. And right now, I'm the only person challenging Ritchie Torres. There is nobody else who's declared themselves to be a legitimate candidate, only people threatening that they might actually do it. So I just want to make one thing clear. If you're not prepared to join me in the street and just tell people what a piece of shit Ritchie Torres is, I don't care who you would prefer as a candidate. I'm actually here on the ground doing it, okay? So, and I also don't care who replaces him. I'm here because I live here. This is my neighborhood. I love the people of the Bronx. I love all people. And my strategy right now is to just tell people what their own congressman said. And if you're prepared to do that with me, sign up on my website at votevega.nyc. We're under a major reconstruction right now for our website. It's completely bare bones. There's just a couple policies up there, a donate button, and a volunteer button. More to come. But please, join me in the streets, support me, and come and help me tell the people of the Bronx what a piece of shit Ritchie Torres is.
Something else I want to just add here about Jose. Jose has been one that has challenged power. When I tell you to pay attention to those who are willing to challenge power, he was one of those people. Before he was running as a candidate, Jose was approaching corporate journalists. He was confronting politicians in front of to their face. He was going to events to confront them about the money that they were taking, calling out their donations, calling out their supports and their votes for these wars, calling out the corporate media bias, the lies, etc. So that's where I came to know of Jose from. I saw this video of him confronting, you know, politicians like, why are you doing this? So that's someone who was not afraid to go after that, to go after power. And that's why I tell people, pay attention to that, to the people who are willing to do that, challenge power. Ritchie Torres was never going to challenge power. He was never going to challenge power. Ritchie, and he's not even one that I would say played a game for a little bit. Like the moment he was in, he was bought. That simple. So I think it's something to pay attention to, guys. Can we get to part 3 of Type VNC? We got this one more story. This is a big one about the dark money. These are the kind of things that you just want to pay attention to. And I think that Jose is doing a good job. Like, he's out there in the community. You could tell Ritchie Torres looks so uncomfortable. Like, when he was standing there, he's probably like, let me get away from these people as quickly as possible. Like, it's so fake and so obvious. All right, ladies and gents, I think we'll leave the comments for Eric because I do want to get to this story so we can jump into call in. This is a big one. If you haven't had a chance to do so, smash the like. Thank you. And we're going to move on to, this is our final story of the night. What if I told you that there was a dark money group that was secretly funding Democrat influencers and they did not tell you about it? What if I told you that some of those influencers include David Pakman, Politics Girl, and Brian Tyler Cohen? That's where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen. This story is getting a lot of buzz. Taylor Lorenz posted this. A powerful dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. Let's go ahead and get into the actual article here in just a second, but I wanted to show you this part. An initiative that was aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. Let me chime in here, folks, as someone who does independent media, okay? Yeah, man. We've been saying for quite some time that some of these people were getting paid, that they were paid influencers. It's really funny. There were people, when I would not support Kamala, there were people calling me, oh, MAGA, your secret MAGA, or the right wing is giving you money. That was never the case. I called it out then, told them to produce something, since they seem to know what they're talking about. They think they know what they're talking about, and they just run away and just go away. They were dim trolls. I told you that Too Raw, Too Real was also paid. I warned people, I said, guys, these people are paid influencers. And I got a lot of shit for that at the time. Now it's out there. Now it's really, really out there. And why is this interesting? Why is this important? Well, let me take you back to something, okay? Let me take you back to what happened right after Kamala lost the election. Remember when I covered this story about how David Pakman said that he had just lost 5,000 subscribers and then it actually ended up going up to 10,000? Just a reminder.
We had lost 5,000 YouTube subscribers compared to where we were last night. Now, the first thing I thought was, is this a glitch? We've been on YouTube for 15 years or something like that. And subscribers always just go up. They just never go down. They go up. Is something wrong with my channel? Is someone attacking my channel? What's going on? So I started texting. And I texted Brian Tyler Cohen. And I texted Tyler Cohen and Brian Cohen and Brian Tyler. All of them. I texted all of them.
Did you hear who he said he texts? See, names matter, right? So he said he texts Brian Tyler Cohen. I
texted Jesse Dollemore. I texted Luke Beasley and Farron Cousins and Sam Cedar. And every single one of our channels since last night is hemorrhaging subscribers. What is it that is going on? Here is a graphic. As you can see, subscribers just go up, 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 and they are down. It is not just YouTube subscribers. We are seeing record cancellations of paid memberships. Record cancellations. These are the people that keep the show running. Now, for a moment, I thought, if it's just YouTube, maybe YouTube is purging people who are inactive subscribers. And once a year, usually YouTube does this and you see a little decline and then numbers go back up. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And if that were the case, we wouldn't be seeing paid membership cancellations on the website. So now I understand what is going on. It's terrifying, but it is happening. A lot of people are checking out. I heard anecdotally from a couple dozen people who said, you know, David, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm checking out. I'm out. And the reason that this is terrifying, not only because it puts everybody in left-wing media's livelihoods at stake and at risk, it terrifies me because our instinct is the opposite of what the right does, and we will get crushed if this is the way we respond to a defeat.
So, at that time, I responded when I covered that story that, yeah, you were losing that many people because you led people to believe that she was going to walk away with this election. And that obviously was not the case. And you've been doing that. You led people to believe that Hillary was going to walk away with that election in 2016. So, yeah, man. So, yeah, people tapped out, right? Now, just hold on to that for just a second, because there was something else. And I want to show you what I talked about during my coverage of this, when I showed you what else happened after he lost those, it became 10,000 subscribers. Watch this part. Now, at that point, when he made this video, it was just 5,000. As the day progressed, it grew to 10,000 subscribers. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, keep that in mind. Now, let's go to the part where I show you how he magically got 10,000 subscribers back. You see, I know I'm pretty good here with analytics. Like I pay attention to numbers and these types of things and trends, and I've done my research. What you see, what just happened to David Pakman here at this time, this was not normal, and I flagged it. Listen to this. Here on Social Blade. Let me just zoom out a little bit. If we scroll down, zoom out, sorry. We can see his numbers here. And I'll show you for the David Pakman show, it was Wednesday, November 6th, where it shows here in red, he lost 10,000 subscribers. And on Friday, November 11th, he gained 10,000 subscribers. Guys, that is not logical. No, it's not. The algorithm doesn't work like that. So this is what I tried to explain to people back then, and I knew something was up. If you lose 10,000 subscribers in one day, you don't get 10,000 back the next day unless you doing something behind the scenes or you working with somebody. So I knew that doesn't make any sense, because it's one thing if you lost like 100, but if you lose 10,000 in one day, you do not gain 10,000 the next day. That means behind the scenes, you getting help from somebody else somewhere. Somebody giving you some money, honey. Okay? I wasn't born yesterday. I know how these numbers work. And now we find out, thanks to this shining article that is out there for the public to see, Dark Money Group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. So let's get into this, okay? Check this out. In a private group chat in June, dozens of Democratic political influencers discussed whether to take advantage of an enticing opportunity. They were being offered $8,000 per month to take part in a secretive program aimed at bolstering Democratic messaging on the internet. $8,000 a month, secretive. But the contract sent to them from Chorus, the nonprofit arm of a liberal influencer marketing platform, came with strings. Among other issues, it mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and had restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I remain independent. When you start, locking arms with said platform or said nonprofit group or said sponsor or whatever, they want you to move, how they want you to move. And the moment you don't move the way they want you to move, you're gone. So there were a number of influencers, some of which you may be surprised with, a number of influencers that were paid by this group Chorus, took this contract with them. They were given $8,000 a month to produce the content, the political content that they wanted them to produce. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is some of these people, as I told you a year ago, that were saying they were independent, were not independent. They are under the guise of being independent. Some of them may have started out as independent commentators, but when money started being thrown their way, they decided to take the money. Now, I'm saying this as someone who was in this field, because David Pakman has issued a response. Remember, I'm going to play that lame ass shit after this article. He has issued a response, and I am living proof that what David Pakman is using as an excuse for taking this money isn't necessary. Let's go on here. In their group chat, influencers debated the details. Should we send a joint email, or we just going to send things separately and hope they change everything for everyone? So it goes on to say here, some joked about collective bargaining, yada, yada. The influencers in the chat collectively had at least 13 million followers across social platforms. They represented some of the most well-known voices online, posting in support of Democrats, and they're key to wherever the party moves next. But ultimately, the group didn't make much progress. Let's go on here. For Democrats. For years, Democrats have struggled to work with influencers. In 2024, Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, the pandemic, Gaza, and the TikTok ban. Content creators who challenged Kamala, including Hassan Piker, a well-known influencer on the left, were similarly unwelcomed at campaign events. After they lost in November, they faced a reckoning. It was clear that the party had failed to successfully navigate the new media landscape. So let's get to Chorus. Democrats hoped that the secretive Chorus Creator Incubator Program, funded by a powerful liberal dark money group called the 1630 Fund, would tip the scales for them. The program kicked off last month, and creators involved were told by Chorus that over 90 influencers were set to take part. Over 90. They don't list all 90 of them here. Creators told Wire that the contract stipulated they'd be kicked out and essentially cut off financially if they even so much as acknowledge that they were part of the program. Some creators also raised concerns about a slew of restrictive clauses in the contract. Okay, so again, they picked out certain people that they knew would kind of be willing to go along with the rules and take the money. What that tells you right now, and I say it again, and you guys, you need to check them, because this tells you right now, David Pakman, whatever David Pakman says, throw it out the window. Throw whatever Brian Tyler Cohen says out the damn window. All these people that took this money, throw it out the window, because you don't know if that's what they really feel or not, or what they were paid to say. At this point, that's no different than corporate media. There are many of us in independent media that don't have any sponsorships, that are not aligned with any Chorus or any other dark money group, that are 100% independent. In fact, most of us are. That's the part they won't tell you. Most of us, especially the smaller shows, most of us are 100% independent. Let's continue on here. Influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases, an onboarding session for those receiving payments from 1630 Fund, include Olivia Juliana. Everybody remember this woman? This was the woman that was supposed to do the webinar for how to recruit young men. And everybody was like, what the hell is the Democratic Party doing? I told y'all she was paid. Centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the DNC convention. Lauren Peretra, a former Playboy executive turned political influencer who hosts a podcast for Occupy Democrats. They're all embedded in here. Barrett Adair, a content creator who runs an American Girl doll-themed pro-DNC meme account. Suzanne Lambert, who has called herself a Regina George liberal. Ariel Fodder, an education creator with 1.4 million followers on TikTok. Sander Jennings, a former TLC reality star and older brother of trans influencer Jazz Jennings. David Pakman, who hosts an independent progressive yeah, right, progressive show on YouTube covering news and politics. Lee McGowan, who goes by the online moniker Politics Girl, and dozens of others. The first two declined to comment. The rest did not respond to requests for comment. Again, these are just some of the people. There are over 90 of them. I'm curious to see who all 90 are, because I want to know who's not being named. It goes on to say here, According to copies of the contract that was viewed by Wire, the contracts that the creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. So you had David Pakman and all these other people taking dark money. Dozens of liberal influencers are believed to have been approached by Chorus about the 1630 fund financing opportunity this spring. They were told that Chorus appreciated the work they were doing online, and then they were asked if they would be interested in being part of the first cohort of a new program that Chorus was running to help expand their reach and impact, creators tell Wired. But following the initial outreach, many creators expressed concern and some stipulations. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. So they were telling them who they were allowed to interview. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. Honey, some of the independent media is still corporate media. Goes on to say here, let's jump forward so we can get to the Brian Tyler Cohen bit here. Right about here. Okay, here we go. The Federal Election Commission declined to comment. This part is important. There are some real advantages to housing this program as a nonprofit, Wilson said to creators on a Zoom call reviewed by Wired. It gives us the ability to raise money from donors. You see what's happening here? It also, with this structure, it avoids a lot of public disclosure or public disclaimers, paid for by blah, 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 that you see on political ads. So they were trying to get around that so that it would be kept secret that they weren't being paid. They wanted it under the guise as a nonprofit so people wouldn't see where the money was coming from. It's so corrupt, and people bought into it. We don't need to deal with any of that. Your names aren't showing up like reports filed with the FEC. Wilson did not reply to a request for comment before this article was published. The FEC declined to comment. Now, listen to this part. The goal, of course, according to a fundraising deck obtained by Wired, is to build new infrastructure to fund independent progressive voices online at scale. The creators who joined the incubator are expected to attend regular advocacy trainings and daily message check-ins. The message check-ins are led by Cohen on rapid response days. The creators also have to attend at least 2 Chorus Newsrooms events per month, which are events Chorus plans, often with lawmakers. I'm trying to get to, sorry, it's long, guys. I just want to make sure. Eric, do you know, can I do Control F on here? Yeah, I can't do Control F on Type VNC. Do you know how to do it, Eric? Let me know. I was just looking for the Cohen part. It's just really long, you guys, but there's certain. Okay, Eric's going to show me. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. All right, so let's look for. Got it. Right here. Everyone pay attention to this part. Okay. Chorus, which describes its contracts reviewed by Wire as a project of 1630 Fund that handles operations for the creator program, launched in November 2024 with ties to Good Influence, a for-profit influencer marketing agency aimed at helping content creators connect with social good campaigns. Good Influence was founded on October 2020 by Stuart Perlmutter, the former communications director for Representative John Yarmouth of Kentucky. Seeing an opportunity for Making sure we're highlighted here. Okay, so people follow me along. Seeing an opportunity after Kamala Harris lost last November, Perlmutter co-founded Chorus with Democratic influencer Brian Tyler Cohen, who has over 4.6 million subscribers on YouTube and leads message check-ins for the creator cohort on rapid response days. There's the tie to Brian Tyler Cohen. He's co-founder. I'll be sure to put this article in the chat so you guys can read this on your own because it is pretty lengthy. But everybody sees what's happening here. Now, I just want to remind everybody, they mentioned Politics Girl. This woman right here is an actress. This is something I called out a couple of years ago. Her real name is Lee McGowan. Remember, she was the woman that was doing these videos in her kitchen and she kind of blew up out of nowhere, whatever. She's an actress. She was an actress in Canada and she moved to the US. In fact, it was even mentioned here, a return to common sense, how to fix America before we really blow it, right? So listen to this. This is a lot of things people didn't pay attention to. It says, you probably better know Lee McGowan as Politics Girl, famous for her kitchen rant on social media. McGowan speaks about politics and current issues in ways that are clear, concise, and easy to understand, but never condescending. Yada, yada, yada. Goes on to say here, born and raised in Canada, McGowan came to America to be an actor. Fame in Hollywood never happened, but what is the entertainment world's loss is our gain. So if you look into this deeper, because they're starting to hide stuff on her, if you look into it deeper, you'll see that she was an actress in Canada. And then she moved to LA to become a bigger, actress in the Hollywood industry. So that woman that is Politics Girl, as I tried to tell people before, was an actress. I just think that's something people should know. Like, I don't think I'm not saying, oh, you can't do this because you did that. I'm just saying, I think it's something that people should know. Brian Tyler Cohen was also an actor. This is another one I think a lot of people may not have been aware of. So Brian Tyler Cohen, this is an easy one you can look up and see, right? Brian Tyler Cohen acted in a handful of film and TV roles from 2012 to 2016. In October 2018, he started posting political content on his YouTube channel. Okay? So he started the podcast, pay attention. In June of 2020, he started his first podcast, No Lie, during the midst of the pandemic. So that's when he started that podcast. The Brian Tyler Cohen podcast show, whatever you want to call it, has over 4 million subscribers last time I checked. Again, he was an actor. That's kind of where he came from. And a lot of people don't mention this part. They'll just say, oh, he's a political commentator and he has all these interviews. He's interviewed Nancy Pelosi. He's talked to Biden. He's talked to all these people, but he was already in the entertainment industry. So you got to see that. Look, progressive. He's everybody progressive now. Progressive YouTuber, podcast host, author, political commentator, actor, and MSNBC contributor. In other words, Brian Tyler Cohen is not a threat to the establishment. Brian Tyler Cohen is not trying to challenge power. Neither is Politics Girl, and neither is David Pakman. This is something all of them have in common, except for taking dark money. But this is important, right? In 2022, Cohen became the first YouTube creator podcaster to interview Joe Biden. How'd that happen? If he started his podcast in 2020, how did he get to interview Joe Biden that quickly? Come on, guys, connect the dots, boo. Connect the dots. Then there's the Israel issue. I just find it interesting, I don't know, that David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen don't have a good position on Israel and Gaza. They're pro-Israel. They're part of that I'm progressive except for Palestine group. May every now and then show some sympathy towards the people being killed in Gaza. But it ain't like the motherfuckers radical. David Pakman was defending Israel. Zionist. See, I didn't forget these things. And now you have David Pakman trying to make an excuse for why he took dark money. This guy has got to be the lowest of the low. Ken Klippenstein said David Pakman issues response about why he took the money. I told you, I warned people about this guy over and over again. Listen to this.
For years, I've been saying the left needs to organize independent media in the way that the right has been doing. The left needs to fund independent creators the way that the right does. The right has won even arguably presidential elections.
Eric, Corey, do me a quick favor. Can one of you guys Google to see if you can find a number to show how much money David Pakman makes? If you have time. Let me debunk something real quick. Hold up.
Doing. The left needs to fund independent creators the way that the right does. The right has won even arguably presidential elections.
So, because the right has been able to win presidential elections, hold up. David Pakman says that the left needs to fund independent media in the same way that the right does. What the hell does that have to do with you taking dark money and not disclosing it? Here's the thing I said before. If that's what you are going to do, the audience needs to know. They need to know that you have a contract signed and you are actually working for someone else, because that's what this is really about. Thank you, Eric. David Pakman's net worth is $11 million. So buy me all that, okay, David? Go sit down somewhere, David. Go sit down somewhere, David. You ain't need no more money. You just greedy. He's just greedy. Don't you guys remember David Pakman went to the White House and sat down and spoke to Kamala Harris in a room with other influencers, including Too Raw, Too Real? I told you guys these people got to be paid. You don't get to just show up at the White House like that and let me just sit down and talk to this person, the president, the vice president, and all this type of stuff. It was so obvious. So obvious. Don't forget, Crystal dropped the ball on this, not dropped the ball, but dropped the nugget on this one. Remember, Crystal said that her and Saga Breaking Points reached out to the Kamala Harris's campaign to invite her on for an interview. Apparently, the campaign didn't want that to happen. But they were fine with David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen, with them going to interview. So you see, you got to connect these dots. You are worth $11 million. You took the money because you were greedy. That's what this is really about. This is not about the left trying to fund independent media. This is about you, your pocket, your ego, and you wanted more money. That's all this is. I'm not here to say there aren't expenses that you have to pay for. Yes, there are. There are expenses I have to pay for. Even the live stream, I have to pay for StreamYard once a month. I have to pay to use Canva to make my thumbnails. There are a lot of things that you pay for, but that motherfucker ain't broke. Not at all. And to keep it secret, you say nothing. Yes, I agree to sign this contract, but I don't let my audience members know that I'm going to be getting paid this money, and they're going to be telling me what stories, political stories that I can really talk about, and I'm not going to tell anybody because, let's let them continue.
Because they're organized with regard to online and independent media.
Now, if you're not taking the money, this means that this side of the faction is not organized. You can organize without taking dark money. People understand this? Yes, Chris, but Sabby, $8,000 a month. Workers can't even see that much in a basic job, which is nearly $96,000 a year. That's the big point there, Chris. That's a really big point. Like this mofo. Now, let me tell you what happened. I remember when a lot of these people started. David Pakman, when he started, he had like this radio show, was definitely independent in the beginning. But David, as he grew, he wanted nicer things. And this is one of the mistakes a lot of these creators make. You don't see me go get no nicer things. You don't see me go get no, all you saw me do was move my desk around in this room up against this wall instead of having that window behind me. You didn't see me go buy no damn studio. See, these are what things people do. You don't see me go get a studio and start paying monthly for a studio. That's another bill. You know, you're keeping them lights on. That's more money. You didn't see me do those things. People like David Pakman did. He didn't have to do all that. I'm living proof of someone who was independent media that I didn't have to take no money from nobody. I didn't get no money from no corporation. I don't have no sponsorships. David Pakman does. And you know, because they advertise them on the show. I don't have no sponsorships. You don't hear me say, oh, now a word from our sponsor. I like to drink such and such, and I think you guys should do. Nope. I don't have no sponsorships. I ain't take no damn dark money. I ain't signed with no nonprofit, take no money from them. Me, RBN, Nico House, Jamal Thomas, a lot of us, most of us are independent. The problem is most people don't hear from us. Most people hear from channels like David Pakman because he has over millions of subscribers. And then they like David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen, they will try to make sure that their audience never sees or hears from us because we are saying something different. And that's the last thing they want them to hear. God forbid, don't let them listen to those people telling them to organize within their communities. Oh no, the people are talking about mutual aid. No, we can't let them hear that. And now you see what they were paid to do.
They're killing us. We've been so behind. And this kind of support for creators is exactly what I've been advocating for. It's for years I've been saying
you can tell he is not comfortable. This is not about what you've been saying for years, David. This is about you taking money and not telling people about it. Per the contract, they're controlling your political content. Why should anybody believe you or trust you? You, Brian Tyler Cohen, and that crazy ass politic woman who's still stuck in her damn kitchen. Why should anybody trust you guys? They shouldn't. That's dirty. That's grimy. But no, people told you I'm the one that you shouldn't listen to. People told you I'm the problem. RBN's the problem. Da-da-da. We ain't take no dark money. So I don't feel sorry for David Pakman. He can take his $11 million ass home somewhere. And this brings up the Israel issue. Because now looking back on it, what if that was also controlled? What if their content about Israel was also controlled in order to provide cover for Kamala Harris? Damn. This is just the one that is outed. We don't know. They could be taking money for dark money from someone else too. Hello? We don't know what's going on. It is wild out here in these damn YouTube streets. We don't feel sorry for you, David. We don't feel sorry for Brian. I don't feel sorry for none of these people. You guys made a fucking decision. You are already making a lot of money. And then you're like, yeah, I'll take 8,000 more. For what? This is why you don't never hear them say anything about organizing. This is why you don't hear them talk. Only time they talk about organizing is if it's to vote for some damn body. You don't see them bringing people on to talk about let's work together to build dual power. Let's do mutual aid. Let's have community activism. Let's work together. You don't see them do these damn things because that is not what they're paid to do. All y'all motherfuckers been exposed. It is what it is. Some of us called this a while ago. Now you got the receipts. And for those who are wondering if you were interested in doing this yourself, you don't need all those bells and whistles. When I started doing this, I had actually the very first video I did, I used the microphone that was on my laptop. It took time. I didn't have fancy stuff. I had one ring light. It was rinky dinky. Sometimes it worked well, sometimes it didn't. I used the desk that I already had. And no matter how much I grew, you never saw me get to the point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go rent a studio now because I got hells to the no. You don't need all that. And I just hope people really take this into consideration, because I look back on things and I'm like, these motherfuckers, and you wonder why people were getting boosted the way that they were. There's no way in hell you lose 10,000 subs in one day and then you get them back within 24 hours. Hell no. Stop being greedy. That's fucking ridiculous. It's disgusting. People say, what about the right-wing influencers? They are open about taking money. They don't pretend they don't take money. That's the difference. Everybody knew they were taking money. They're not like, oh, we don't take no money. They were open about that. Y'all motherfuckers been sitting up here lying and hiding, pretending like you were, and you were. And dark money. The same dark money for those of you who supported Nina Turner. The same, is this the same? Dark money is dark money. Don't forget the dark money that went against Nina Turner. Don't forget that. That's what people need to think about, what dark money really does. So they happily took dark money. They're not anti-corruption. They're not anti-capitalism. They are pro-capitalism. You are willing to go below the lowest of the low and take dark money and hide it from your goddamn viewers that you've had for years because you wanted greediness. It's disgusting. The longer I do this, in particular on YouTube, the more I find out. And it's really like gross, man. Some of these people really want change, but most of these motherfuckers I met don't. They want money. So shout out to Taylor for that article. I know a lot of people were talking about it. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't understand. I really don't. You're already rich. But it's never enough. All right, guys, we are going to do call in, ladies and gents. Hey. Gonna do call in. All right. I think Eric's gonna come on. Oh, the poll. Sorry. Let's do the poll. Eric's gonna come on for a second and I'll create the call in room. I know it's late, but I want to get it, make sure we do it. All right. Why does America have the most school shootings? 1,957 votes. 24% say America is a violent country. 14% say lack of mental health resources. 4% say lack of gun reform. And 58% say all of the above. Interesting. All right, guys. All right. I'm going to take a quick break, create that room, and I'll be back. I think we do have super chats, Eric.
We have some super chats. All right. Hey. All right, so this is the part of the show where yours truly here, Eric T. Red, I come in from the background to the foreground, and we give Sabrina a little break. While she's out, she's creating the room in Zoom. We used to do it on Call-In, but they got rid of the Call-In app, so now we do it as our Zoom Call-In Hangout, and then we'll be giving you that link. And yeah, and at the Sabby Hangout after show, we like to hear what you have to say. We have regulars that we often hear from. Love to hear from new people. If you got something to tell us, do come on by and let us know what you think. Could be about one of the stories that we had on. It could be about whatever topic you want. And whether or not you have your camera on or off is optional. We like the cameras either way. And in the meantime, while we do a little break in our transition here, we'll get some super chats. All right. and some regular chats. I'll show this one here. It's Sensei saying, vote Jose Vega to remove Torres. Yeah, I mean, it would just, it's not about Jose Vega being perfect or not, but it's about, you really can't get much worse than Ritchie Torres out there, and getting him out of there for for another candidate, for another person who is not a member of the Uniparty, which is also a big part of it, would be just a huge plus. Thanks for the super chat. None of your business. Who says, have you seen the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers? How else do you explain what happens when they take that trip? I think that trip to Israel, and then I guess Donald Sutherland, like if they don't convert into Zios, then Donald Sutherland points the finger at them because they're I always remember the end of that movie. But the other thing I'd say about it is that, when it comes to people who get elected to Congress in the Democratic or Republican Party, all these people have been groomed, have been selected, have been, worked on for years before they get to that point. We found out the whole AOC story was BS. This was someone who was an intern in Ted Kennedy's office, and that whole backstory. And so it's not even, in my opinion, so much a matter of that they get there and they're corrupted by Congress or Israel or whatnot. It's kind of they're already players in the game when they get there, and so we really shouldn't be surprised. There's a first easy step that any of these people can take. They can not be a member of the Uniparty. They can exit the Democratic Party. They can exit the Republican Party. Do that, and then we can start considering them. If they're a member of a genocidal party, it should be a straight up no from everyone. Thanks for the super chat, Ira. This Vega guy and all challenger politicians need to speak more on the fact that our taxes pay for free healthcare and college for Israel, Palestine, Gaza doesn't resonate as much. I mean, I hear Ira. I would just say, I would recommend that we make it of a piece. In other words, when you connect the dots, it connects up to our corrupt, money-driven system. We know who's in charge at the top, the billionaires, and it's about, are you representing them or are you representing us? And I think you can connect the dots of either in all of these issues to that core issue and really make a good argument. And, if you call them corrupt, that resonates. Thanks for the super chat, Joseph, who says, can you imagine if Jose and Shama both won? They'd be an absolute menace in the best way. Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to see, any non-uniparty politician that'll get in there and mix things up will be a plus. Thanks for this super chat, Paul Green Dennis. Who says, imagine supporting Israel, whose constituents wouldn't piss on you if you're on fire, but not your own people. And they're offing civilians. Just psychotic. I hear you, Paul. And thanks for the super chat, Kenman, who says, Do Dissidents made a great doc about Jose Vega. Yeah, I remember that. And thanks for the super chat, Paul, as well. It says, hey, Sabby is the mutual aid workshop online. I think Sabrina can address that later. I believe it's a Zoom workshop in terms of when it runs. And thanks for the super chat, Covert White Rabbit. He says, you are the nicer things, Sabby. Thanks for that. And thanks for this one, none of your business. He says, when you sell your soul, you can never buy it back. Yeah, and and like I said, there's that whole idea of they are, to some extent pre-selected. It's systemic. And, while I'm up here, I'll just talk briefly. This is the 11 Demands website. If you've been hearing the term or if you hear about it or whatnot, that's how you can find it. 11demands.org, or just search for 11 Demands. Easy to find. It was funny during the interview, Amanda Seals said, "Oh, he's a socialist," and I wasn't sure how to take that. Maybe she can clarify that at some point. I don't know if she meant that as a good thing or a bad thing, but to me, being a socialist is kind of common sense these days. But what I wanted to point out here too is that if you go on the site, there is an 11 Demand Substack. If you want to see some short articles on various issues around 11 demands, and this one, you get the core problem, challenge, and the solution. There have been a couple of articles on Zohan Mandami, which I think people find interesting. I wanted to highlight this one again, which I think really gets down to the core issue. It's called two sets of interests. And it's this idea that there really are just two sets of interests out there. There's the interests of the top 0.1%, who are the billionaires, the mega corporations, military industrial complex, Wall Street, that whole, which are their instruments, they have a set of interests which are to get more money, extract more money from us. And you have the interests of the 99%. So if you frame it as that simple question, are they working for one interest or the other? I think it gets you a long ways towards understanding how things work and what we can do about it. And what we need to do about it is we need to have a mass movement around a concise, clear set of interests, focus on money and corruption, MCDS. But the numbers are the key thing. People are always saying, how can we do anything? How can we ever do it? Well, we're going to have to generate numbers is what I would focus on. Yeah,
absolutely.
So
and absolutely. I know it's late, guys. We're going to go ahead and get into call in. Let me go ahead. I'm opening the room on the live stream. I like to do that just to make sure people get in. Okay. The link for call in is pinned at the top of the live chat. So you'll see that there. I ask everybody if you could please mute when you enter the room. If you want to speak, if you're new in this Sabby After Dark session, you want to speak, at the bottom of the screen, there's an option to raise your hand. That's how I know to call on you. And if you come in a little bit later and you want to join, you can go to sabbysabs2.com and also get into that call-in room. So let me go ahead and make Eric, I see you in here. I'll make you a co-host.
I'm in there.
All right. Eric is a co-host. Again, we ask everybody to mute your mics. Please mute your mics.
I'll see y'all in there.
All right. And let's go ahead and head on over there. Guys, have a happy Labor Day weekend. I know I wasn't live last Sunday because I was traveling, but I won't be live this Sunday either because it is Labor Day weekend. So I have things planned with my family, but I hope you guys have a great weekend. And Monday night, I will be on Revolutionary Change, which is with Jen Perlman and Peter to talk about my documentary. So I hope to see you guys there. Other than that, I will see you Tuesday night live here. Have a good night. Yeah. Keep up the fight.